What is happening out there, Rotoscouts baseball fans? Good to see you, gang. A little bit early today, 3:45-ish, 3:47, 3:48, whatever your clock might say. Got caught up, was rocking out here, getting things done, just listening to some music, and had to hear the end of the song that was on, had to stash the cat, refill the coffee cup, so a couple minutes got away from me there, but nice early show. Lot to tackle, another 9-gamer. Thanks, Quality. Quality points out the new thumbnail on the video. Really appreciate it. That came from our guy, Charles. You might know him as Beantown. Actually sent it over to me several weeks ago. It landed in my email back on April 8th. And he was nice enough. He created the original ones that were used, that were previously used here, and sent them to me, going back a year or two. And that popped in. It had been sitting in my email since the 8th, and I just noticed it today because I was searching up another email that had attachments, and I was like, wait, what's this? And it was 4 fresh new thumbnails. So pretty psyched. Appreciate that, Charles, if you're out there. Our guy Beantown, always a generous guy with his time, and obviously talented graphic artist. So if you got any graphic arts needs, forget the AI. Use a human being, and we know a good one. Anyway, getting back around to this, a lot of interesting games today. Wild slate last night. Results were all over the place. I think we're all disappointed by that outcome at Coors Field. We talked about how sharp Dollander might look. I don't think anybody in their right mind would have had Randy Vasquez pitching like he did. According to what they talked about on MLB Central this morning, and I haven't fact-checked this, but I trust them, that was a 0.0049% outcome for all games ever at Coors Field. That was the 12th game of all time that has ended 1-0 at Coors Field. Just a wild outcome. But we're going right back there today. Those two teams top the board for offense again, top the board for implied runs in Vegas again. Plenty of other spots, though, to consider for some offense, and definitely some really, really interesting pitcher values. Just do a little sneak preview. Some of those cheap salaries, not too far down the board. Most notably, I think the $4,000 price tag on Connor Prilip on DraftKings, and then our guy Dieter Fuentes on both sites. Really interesting. If I'm building 10 DraftKings lineups today, at least one of them has the combination of those two just to see what the hell I can buy it with bats. That's 10-8 for 2 pitchers. Almost Ohtani's price. So I think that's a very interesting little wrinkle on the DraftKings board. We'll get to it. We'll get in a lot of trouble with Dieter, I'm sure. Sliding over to the runs board. Cubs fan in Discord says, if you thought Diddy was bad, we're getting Diddier. Handful of folks out there. Sean Carpin 2619 says, I had Vasquez in my lineup. I only played him because he pitched pretty well in Colorado. There you go. That's a good catch on your part to get him in there. Not a guy I'm typically chasing, regardless of previous outcome. You got to be careful about that. I don't know when the game or games that you were looking at necessarily took place, who was in the lineup, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of variables go into that. You don't necessarily want to just say like, oh, he's pitched well there in the past. But obviously, worked out quite nicely for you. So definitely a good take and a good pickup. And even the low end pitchers, even guys like that are low strikeout can succeed from time to time, as we saw. It's baseball. We'll have 8-10 good ones, 8-10 total clunkers, and you are who you are in between, as they always say. Let's get back into this one, though. Good-looking runs board. Cubs fan has some graphic needs. Brewers and the Tigers starting things off. Brewers checking in under 4 implied runs, 3.80 going up against Casey Mize. Mize, capable righty, solid mid-board type righty. He's been pretty good to start the season outside of one start. Not a tremendous strikeout pitcher, and definitely a pitcher that team can sequence against, do their thing, and find some runs, in typical Brewers style. But I don't dislike the spot for Mize on a fairly deep pitching slate. Coming the other way, Chad Patrick making a full start here. He did make a full start the last time out, 6 2/3. Had pitched prior to that in a 3-inning bulk relief stint. This is his 4th full start, 5th appearance of the season. Patrick, a talented guy. strikeouts are down somewhat, but hasn't been bad as far as earned runs. Underneath the surface might be a little bit different. We'll give that one a look. 4.27 implied for the Tigers and showing a little bit of power upside, but a funky lineup. The Braves and the Nats. Speaking of power upside, this is the game where we get Dieter Fuentes, who we just looked at on the mound. Now, Dieter has some skewed numbers because he was up for 4 games last year with the Braves. And we're going to talk a little bit more about this, but he was 19 years old at the time. And he gave up, I think, 5 home runs. I forget to how many hitters across those 4 games. And it has somewhat skewed the power index. But he's also a kid who is somewhat prone to giving up the barrel a little bit if he makes a mistake. He's got nasty, nasty stuff, but several of the Nationals hitters are grading out extremely, extremely well, and James Wood is bending the slate to his will. He's double the magic number for home run upside today. On the other side of that, we get the Braves and all their firepower going up against Zach Littell. We've got 4 Braves, I believe, above the magic number and the home run pick of the day coming out of the Braves, and he was not one of those 4. I went in a different direction, hopefully get a little bit away from ownership because I feel like Atlanta is going to be popular given that almost 5-run total. 4.15 on the other side of with the Nats. That's a very both-sided situation. I do think you could play their bats against Dieter. I definitely want to play some Dieter going the other way. The storied rivalry continuing in Boston. Yankees, Sox. 4.01 implied on the Yankee side. 3.57. You might note those are 2 pretty low totals. You get it to a degree. It's Max Fried on the mound for the Yanks, but it's Ranger Suarez going for the Red Sox. Not exactly unbeatable pitcher. It's just a cool night up in Boston. Look like we're having a little bit of weather impact on that implied total. I think it was going to be in the 40s per Mr. Roth. So I think we're just dealing with one of those games where the total's knocked down a little bit. Yeah, 45-degree night in Fenway. 25% chance of rain. He does have it as yellow. Just flagging more the negative impact for the cold than anything else. And that is dragging some of these guys down. It's dragging the Yankees bats down a little bit. You'll notice as we get to that game, I believe only Aaron Judge on either side of that game above the magic number for home run upside. But the Yankees can do their thing. They were still projecting out, a couple slots down the old stacks board, but they still project out fairly well. Yeah, 5th on FanDuel, 6th on DraftKings by projection. A little bit of value there, considering some low prices. But you can see against Ranger and in the cold, Ranger's not prone to giving up the home run ball, much as he can be mediocre otherwise. But between the weather and Ranger's ability to keep the ball in the yard, and then Max Fried's ability to keep the ball in the yard, knocking the Red Sox all the way down here, definitely a little bit of a drag on normal expectations for run scoring for those 2 teams. The Twins, the hapless Mets. Good news, Mets fans, you get Juan Soto back today. I think that's going to make quite a difference in your lineup and your run scoring output. Soto looks tremendous in his spot in the lineup. He's the only Met, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, above the magic number, and he's well above it. He was in like the 13, 14 range. I almost made him the pick of the day, but I didn't want to do it because not totally jumping on the Mets bandwagon just yet. Let's see them win a game first. It's been they're going for the Baker's dozen in losses tonight. It's Connor Prelip on the mound, drafted 48th overall back in 2022, missed some time, but does have decent strikeout stuff through the minor leagues. 25 years old, making his debut here. Kind of intrigued at that $4,000 price. This is a full start, so definitely a little bit interesting price-based opportunity there. Clay Holmes on the mound, entirely playable against the Twins. Very good suppressor of runs. 3.41 implied speaks a lot on the Minnesota side of that one. The Phillies are going with Kyle Backus and Taijuan Walker. Backus should just be in there for an inning, and then Taijuan takes over. Definitely an opportunity for Cubs to succeed against Taijuan for when he's in there. Maybe Backus takes the top off for that first inning, but a 4.52 implied total kind of stands out there for Chicago's side of that one. And then it's Matthew Boyd making his return. He's had a biceps issue, was on the IL, missed 2 starts, I believe. Quality pitcher, was off to a very good start good start for strikeouts over the first 2. He did give up 6 runs to the Nationals in his first game. So I can't really say it was a great start overall, but good strikeouts and was good throughout last year. Not a pitcher we completely love or believe in. Tempted to talk about some Phillies bats, but a 3.56 implied total is a little bit daunting. We'll get to that one when we get to it. At worst, we're going to at least consider some of the Phillies power upside again, as usual. Pittsburgh against Texas, 4.08 implied total for the Pirates. They've got Braxton Ashcraft on the mound, and it's Jack Leiter coming their way for Texas. 4.0 implied total on the Texas side of things. Either or, you can get to a little bit of both of those bats. You can get to a little bit of both of those pitchers. So a solid 4 corners game. I think my favorite thing in that entire game is probably Braxton Ashcraft, but I think that'll also be everybody's favorite thing in that game. I mean, my favorite thing in that game is O'Neal Cruz, but as the four components, the bats, the pitchers, etc. I think it's Braxton Ashcraft. Padres and the Rockies at Coors. Again, this is, two highest totals on the day, 12-run total. That's separated. It is definitely, you have to call it out, no matter what we saw last night. When we have a game that's separated by 3 full runs over the next highest totals, it's pretty important to go through. Rockies, I think the Rockies' bad lineup was a little bit more of the culprit than Randy Vasquez last night. But they're a team that we can definitely, utilize at cheap prices, and they're pulling a 5.51 total. That's the second highest on the slate, behind only their opponent 6.62. Both those teams are tied atop the board on DraftKings. Slight edge to the Padres on the FanDuel side. It's Walker Buehler. It's Tomo Sugano. Buehler's had some effective outings to start the season, kind of surprising. I don't really expect that to last. I don't really expect that to continue tonight in Coors Field. And Sugano's just a pincushion out there. You definitely throw bats at him. The White Sox, the Diamondbacks, 4.11 implied total on the White Sox side, nearly a 5-run total on the Diamondbacks side. It's Anthony K on the bump for the Pale Hose. It is Erod going for Arizona. We saw Erod go pop a little bit the last time out. We had talked about his hot start and finding a groove, sitting in the rocking chair, easing up his delivery. Ended up going out, giving up 4 earned runs in his worst start of the season, over 5 against the Orioles. Definitely some upside, though, against one of the lower-end teams in the league. But we did see the White Sox, and specifically the White Sox we talked about on this show yesterday, kind of pop again yesterday. That Murakami is absolutely outrageous. Colson Montgomery went deep. Sam Antonacci had his first major league home run, which was an inside the park home run. Kind of interesting. So it was a fun, wild one for Chicago. No reason in the world they couldn't repeat that kind of performance against Erod. But again, he has started out the season fairly effectively. Crafty lefty against a bunch of young kids. Kind of lean toward Erod, but either side of that. And then the Diamondbacks. I struggled again getting the Diamondbacks really where they need to be on the stacks board based on that 5-run total, just because of the nature of that lineup right now. There's just some lower end bats. I know they've been performing, but they're not going to project well unless I go into the back end of it and do things that really shouldn't be done. So you have to really, kind of tweak things on the pitcher side, get things where they need to be, and then we hope for the best. But they're ranked, I think, appropriately, kind of midway on the stacks board. It's kind of a compromise. Yeah. They're 12 by FanDuel, but they get to 8 by value, 10 and 3 by value on DraftKings because they are exceedingly cheap there. 8th by home run. But you can see 3rd by Vegas. But if I moved them up further than this, I would be cheating you guys on what this model is telling us about those Diamondbacks. So I don't do that. But be aware they do have a healthy run total. Dodgers and the Giants to round things out. Nearly a 5-run total again for LA. What's new? And the Giants coming in at just a 3.32. It's Tyler Mahle. It's Shohei Ohtani. No Ohtani for DFS purposes, as usual when he's pitching. You do get him obviously on the mound, but not in the batting order. But he will still be there to drive run creation. He didn't hit the last time, though, that he pitched. So we will, have to keep an eye on that. They didn't have him in the lineup. I think it was just a, kind of a night off from having to hit and get up there while pitching. But maybe they go back to that well and do that again today. So just keep an eye out for it. Would not diminish your DFS chances. Well, it's difficult to explain around that because if he's in the lineup, he's driving runs and DFS opportunity for everybody else, regardless if he's scoring his DFS points as a hitter. If he's not in the lineup, that does diminish it somewhat. But the projections, the stack ranking is based on it without him in the lineup either way, right? So it's a little bit of weird give and take there. Getting into the pitching mix. Hang on as I scroll back up on the notes here. There we go. I always say notes. It's truly just snapshots of their game logs. It's not like I'm sitting here typing a bunch outside of their names. So Ohtani, top of the board, separated by a little bit over Max Fried. I do think Fried maybe could be argued a little bit light in that spot. 2-3 extra points wouldn't be unfair to give Max Fried there. Just completing out an inning. I forget where he came down in the model as far as the innings. But if I had rounded his inning up, I think he would have looked a little bit closer to Shohei. But either way, top 2 pitchers on the board kind of with a bullet. You can see that Matthew Boyd does project well, and he is very, very cheap for the quality on the DraftKings slate. Just 7,700. You have so many good, affordable opportunities on DraftKings today that it is easy to just dance your way around Ohtani and Frieda and their prices. But it's also easy to access them or access big bets because you've got a lot of cheap pitchers to put together to use as SP2s alongside of those guys. So Boyd is a big part of that. Dangerous Phillies lineup on the other side for sure, but more than talented enough to get through. Braxton Ashcraft, plenty of upside for him as well. 8,200, not a bad price on DK. You can see the 98 on FanDuel. Those are very different prices. Ashcraft has pitched well. That Rangers lineup is very up and down. There's Erod. Fairly priced, 89, 84. Can't argue with the pricing. I'm a sucker for Erod over the years, but I know what he is, and I don't want to get sucked into this spot and get it blown up. I think that's a fair projection. It reflects a little bit of his potential to shut down that young lineup. But I think it also, kind of answers back for their upside. A Murakami bomb. Looking for, 5 in a row? Casey Mize, as mentioned, pretty solid righty. 7,900 is a much better price than 91. The 91 doesn't truly reflect, I think, the on-base and run creation abilities of Milwaukee, nor does it really reflect the, kind of mid-board type strikeout pitcher that Casey Mize is. He doesn't really flash a lot of 10 strikeout type games. So 91 feels a little bit expensive, but totally usable in that spot. Then we get to Dieter. Again, just absolute dynamite given the pricing. A lot of danger coming from that Nationals side. The Nats, I believe, are leading the league in total runs scored. Did I hear that right on some baseball broadcast? But more to the point, right? That's a lot of danger. James Wood, double the magic number. I think his Fangraphs odds number it's in the home run picks again today. I think it was like 6.1%, something like that. Very, very strong possibility of some power showing up. Even Luis Garcia Jr. is at a 12, higher than CJ Abrams, Brady House, probably just based on the lefty of it and the spot in the lineup. But I do like Dieter's stuff. I do like his ability to miss bats. That is a primed opportunity. And if he's good today, we don't get that spot again. So if you want to play it, you kind of got to do it here. Good today, he goes up by $2,000 on both sides. Chad Patrick, fairly priced on both. 8,000, 7,600. We know there are some Ks in that Detroit lineup, and he can go find them. Leiter against the Pirates, no issues with it outside of, I don't really want to pay 86, 88 for Jack Leiter. But he's been decent. There are swing and miss in that Pirates lineup as well, but there's a couple big thumpers in that lineup now too. Probably more danger for Jack Leiter that you're buying into at that price. I like several of the guys above him for cheaper. Not you. I don't know if you heard Alexa in the corner beep. Ranger Suarez, kind of a no against the Yanks. Clay Holmes, I skipped over him, definitely in play against the Twins, but the Twins have been dangerous. They've been really, really frisky to start the season. The good thing about Clay, though, is he's a very good limiter of runs, and he's very good at taking the home run ball away. So I do think he gets through, 5 and change, 6 pretty solid innings, keeps them down, and then hands off to the bullpen, and the Mets probably end up losing again. But Clay's usable. It's just 89. Again, the price is up, and he's another guy, not a big-time strikeout pitcher. So you do have a little bit of concern about what your true ceiling there looks like compared to some of the other guys. Again, Suarez, I just don't want to throw a lefty against the Yankees and all that right-handed power upside. Fairly priced on DraftKings. You can get there. If you're building a bunch of lineups, certainly you can have them in the mix. There's nothing wrong with it. But 9,000 on FanDuel, no need to tempt fate there. Prelip, again, DraftKings, 4,000. I'm really not that interested at 73 on FanDuel. I think we just give that a moment and find out what he actually is at this level. But for 4,000, he doesn't actually have to be good. He just needs to cover like 4 innings, find a few outs, find a couple Ks, and you've paid off that 4,000. And if he's actually good, you're rocking and rolling. So I think you just go to it. It's not like he's pitching in, it's not like he's Kyle Backus at the same price as an opener who's only going to throw 1 inning. You've got 4 to 5 inning upside. Again, we'll go through this. But 4 starts in the minors this year. Through 5 innings against Phillies affiliate. I didn't mean to do it that way. 1 earned run on 4 hits, 8 strikeouts his last time out. He does anything like that. And it doesn't even have to be the full 5. You don't even need the win at the 4,000. 73 again on FanDuel. Just not interested. Hard no. Hard no. Hard nose. And so on. Everybody below Connor Prelip, I think is mostly irrelevant. Get your value from the guys above it. even if they're going to be a little popular. Out of that group, it's probably uncomfortably Walker Buehler at Coors, and I don't think we want to go there for more money than some of the other guys above him cost. There's just nobody else down there that I trust or really think is all that good. Molly, maybe you could get away with, but it's the Dodgers, so why? Why would we want to? Everybody else, high danger. Clint Wood, what's going on? Is that what it was, Larry? Okay. I appreciate the heads up. But Larry chiming in, Ohtani got hit the night before or something the last time, so it was probably just a night off. And I would expect, they're not doing that with him to have him not hit on days that he pitches. House 0252, what's going on? Tall Tales out there. Meech, what's going on, Meech? Sean responded on, yeah, me neither, but they were last year, and he generally keeps the ball down there. Yeah, look, if you can keep the ball down at Coors Field and get out of jams via the ground ball, not give up hits into that gigantic outfield of theirs, then yeah, you can be effective that way. So good pickoff. Again, that's solid pick. How'd that lineup end up doing? Hopefully well. Atlanta Braves. Oh, by the way, the website for anybody new, rotoscouts.com. Scrolling across the bottom of your screen there, I finally put up a banner that would constantly remind people of that. Under $1 a day gets you access to MLB, NBA, NHL, and NFL when those are in season. All the main slates are covered. All the content in the world for baseball, projections, mostly for NBA, NHL, NFL has a bunch of content, though. So those are the two kind of focus sports, I'd say. And then NBA, NHL, we're main slate projections focused. NBA gets a lot of attention. I don't want to short sell the NBA. NHL is more just the one that I do. Here's the projections. Good luck to you. I don't do shows for NHL. I know what I'm doing. I know how the projections work. The model's good, but that's the one we don't really sit around and talk about all that much. But check out rotoscouts.com. Weekly, monthly, quarterly memberships are available under $1 a day. So let's get back to the start of the slate here. Don't want to skip a game on you. See, we got the Brewers lineup in. Probably do. We do. Love it. So again, Casey Mize, an effective enough righty. 3 starts this year through 16 innings. He's up to a 25.4% strikeout rate. Last year, that was 22.2. So he's added a little bit to the league average strikeout rate in this short sample. Doesn't mean anything necessarily yet, but it's nice to see. Mize, once upon a time, major prospect. He was the number 1 pick in 2018 out of Auburn. $7 million signing bonus. Missed some time in there, kind of finding his way back. But last season, again, was effective. 28 starts, 149 innings, 3.87 ERA, 3.97 xFIP, so just a little bit below 4. A little bit of concern about the power, the premium contact, 9.1% barrel, 42.5% hard hit, 90 miles an hour of exit velo last year. So far this year, he's given up the same, a lot of barrels. Launch angles up a little bit, hard hits slightly up, exit velo slightly down, coincidentally. 2.82% home run rate. A lot of noise in that right now, though. So we'll see how that all settles in. But you do have to watch the premium contact. He's not blowing guys away up there. So if they are able to connect, you can put good wood on the ball against Casey Mize. That does feed a little bit of quality into the home run model here. Gary Sanchez looking pretty good. Jake Bauer's not too bad on the Brewers side of things. But between the two, the Brewers bats or Casey Mize, I think I lean Casey Mize a little bit, like him a whole lot better at that 79 on FanDuel. Chad Patrick, again, 19 innings over 3 starts and a relief appearance, just a 12% strikeout rate, missing bats at a 10.7% swinging strike rate. He's given up a little bit of premium contact and a major fly ball trajectory so far, but they haven't hurt him in terms of that 1.3% home run rate, and barrels have only been at 6.8. He's just ugly under the surface. Right, 5.43 xFIP is not what we want to see. We know the 0.95 ERA is not going to hold, but this would be a whole lot better if it looked kind of more like last year, just around 4, just under 4. Pitched to a 3.56 ERA last year, but the strikeouts should come back. Last year, he struck out 25.1% of hitters on a 10.2% swinging strike rate. Overall, 17.23 came on his BB. That's way down this year. That's at 2.67 this year, given the 12% against the 9.3. I expect that'll improve dramatically as time goes on. It's a playable pitcher, But I don't really love throwing pitchers into this Tigers team. You get a couple capable lefties. You've got some power here. So far this season, a 107 WRC plus for the active roster against left-handed pitching. Not a bad mark for the Tigers. They strike out 22% of the time, but there's plenty of upside here. So I'm a little. I said left-handed. I meant right-handed. Chad Patrick. The stats are for the pulling the correct end in this. I just said the wrong word. So I lean a little bit more toward Tigers bats in that matchup than I do toward Chad Patrick. I think he's entirely usable. He projects out just fine. Again, I think I'm more interested at 76 on DraftKings, but probably Casey Mize a little bit better. They project as almost the exact same guy, though. On the Brewers bats, Bryce Terang in the leadoff spot, continuing to roll with that up to barrel rate again. We've talked about that a bunch, taking 2s and turning him into almost 8 last year. Had a big uptick on his power output, and he's done it again so far this year. Something to watch. 4 home runs on the board, otherwise 307, 435, 60, just doing Bryce Terang things out there. 6 stolen bases, a 175 WRC plus. Tremendous way to get things started for the Brewers, for that run creation engine, and just for DFS purposes. He fills a lot of counting stats. William Contreras at 48, playable catcher on DK. 33, mix and match guy on FanDuel a little bit more. Having a good year. 308, 393, 462 start, a 142 WRC plus. Just getting on base, doing exactly what this team needs him to do. I expect we'll get around 20 home runs on the board when it's all said and done. 17 last year in 659 plate appearances. Has a shot to, again, approach that number. Maybe he falls short of the 20 and just lands around the same. Jake Bauers for 3,900 on 3,300 on FanDuel. First base only on DraftKings. You can plunk him into the outfield on FanDuel, which I think I like a little bit better. But I would play Jake at first base if I'm going to Brewers on DraftKings, given the premium contact upside. He's hit 5 home runs on the season. 366 xWOB under his 334 actual, 110 WRC plus. It's following up a season where he hit 7 home runs and stole 8 bases in his 218 plate appearances. Was limited just by the partial season last year, but had a 356 xWOB under his 333 actual over that stretch. The 333 on its own is above average. 356 is way above average and better than what you saw on the surface. And despite a mediocre batting average, this is why we just don't care about average, that 353 on base helped them feed run scoring. 114 WRC plus that season. 12 home runs, 13 steals the year before. He was a lot worse. You can see the difference, right? Better in terms of the home run and stolen base output in a handful of more plate appearances, 100 and change more plate appearances. But he was sub Mendoza with a 301 on base. So despite the more power, the more stolen bases, 87 WRC plus. That's a dramatic difference. As long as he maintains the quality for getting on base, and that's what this team's asking him to do, come through with a few good batted ball events, score some runs. Really like Jake Bauers for the price. Gary Sanchez, one of our guys around here, 9.38 to lead the team in the home run model. Gary's got 5 on the season. You love to see it. He's got a 443 WOBA and a 423X, 183 WRC plus, 21.2% barrels. Much of that will come crashing down as time goes on and as the sample grows. But Gary has had a lifetime of double-digit barrel rates and a lifetime of just mashing baseballs when he makes contact. A lot of strikeout in his game. He'll feed zeros to you. Right now, he's mitigated that to extreme degrees over 61 plate appearances. This isn't going to hold. It's going to end up looking more like these years. Hopefully this one rather than this one. So at 36 on DraftKings with catcher eligibility, absolutely you want to grab some Gary Sanchez if you're going to the Brewers. On FanDuel at 35, it's just a reason I don't really love the Brewers on FanDuel right now. Look how expensive all those guys are. If I was getting some discount here, if it let me put these guys with other teams, I'd maybe be more intrigued. I just think they're tough to reach. But Gary would be a priority if I was building with them over there. Even, though we don't, even without needing catcher. You do run into a little, like if I want him and him, I've got to use catcher, first base, and util, and then plunk Bauers into the outfield. You can get to it, but it's less than ideal as far in addition to the bad pricing. Garrett Mitchell, entirely playable, 13.8% barrel, 58.6% hard hit to start his year over 72 plate appearances. It's amounted to 1 home run, but he's got a 151 WRC plus, 366 xWOBA, despite being 30 points below that actual, is still a very strong xWOBA. So even if he crashes down to that level, if he's able to do that for a full season, you're talking about a big time breakout for Garrett Mitchell. Lockridge, mix and matchy. Nothing really to speak of in his slash line so far this season, 86 WRC plus, and then 3 substandard guys down the bottom of the lineup. But we know Sal Frelick, if he gets that back going a little bit, is better than that. Certainly better than 197, 305, 268. Last year, 288, 351, 405. That's more who Sal Frelick is. If he's getting on base like that, he's feeding the run creation engine, he's stealing bases. Joey Ortiz, you're just looking for contact that was from 3 years ago now. That might have just been an illusion. He just has not gotten back to that level. Sub Mendoza, 263 on base, 35 WRC plus right now. Hamilton and Lockridge are just pure mix and matchy. On the Tiger side, Kevin McGonigal. How about McGonigal? 100 plate appearances in. 322, 410, 494. 157 WRC plus. If you're looking only at home runs and steals and things that make big fantasy events, maybe he hasn't delivered what you were looking for from such a hotshot prospect, but that is a fantastic first 100 plate appearances in the show. He's creating runs 57% better than average. Phenomenal way to get things started for the Tigers. 46 on DraftKings, 34 on FanDuel. Multi-position on both helps out. Probably stick him at third base if I'm rostering him on either site. That gets me to another high-end shortstop. And third base, there are a few good options on a big slate, but it's a thinner position than it's been in a lot of years past. Glenn Torres, still a guy we like around here, 244, 371, 302. It's all about that on base with Gleber. 322 WOBA with a 338X underneath it, 102 WRC plus. So even though he's been maybe scuffling along with the bat, he's been getting on base. Strikeouts are back where they belong at 16.2% with a matching 16.2% walk rate, over 105 plate appearances. We'll see where it goes. Needs to make better and more frequent contact, drive the ball a little bit. I do not expect he hits 244 all year. I would expect a handful more home runs. Very playable piece for DFS purposes. 2,800 makes it work at second base. Johnny Jones, over 23 plate appearances, has a few good batted ball events. He did the same thing last year in limited action. 1 home run on the board, a 398 xWOB under his 266 actual in the tiny sample. Last year, he hit 7 home runs in 150 chances. Actually slashed 287, 387, 550. Had a 264 ISO, 399 matching xWOBA and WOBA, 159 WRC plus. Not bad for 150 plate appearances for Johnny Jones. Maybe we bump him up in our esteem going forward. He's only 2,400, 2,300. Give me a minute. We're going to get a better look at this. So he's late arriving. He's been up over time. Mostly cups of coffee at the major league level. Probably mostly quad A type player when it's all said and done. He's 28 years old this year. He made 205 plate appearances last year in AAA as a 27-year-old, alongside that quality that he put up in the show, and was basically also doing that down there. 6 home runs to total out to 13 over the 355 plate appearances combined, 10 stolen bases combined. Down on the farm, he slashed 276, 392, 482. Had a 140 WRC plus, 206 ISO. So he legitimately had a very good year at both levels last year. Prior to that, 445 plate appearances in 2023, entirely at the AAA level. A dozen home runs, a dozen steals, 268, 413, 466. It's quality there. I'm not saying he's suddenly going to be a star, but if we're just talking about a guy who maybe hits in full action, 10, 12 home runs, steals 10, 12 bags, positive run creator who gets on base, hits for a little bit of average, you could do a lot worse. And he is cheap for DFS purposes and not one of the go-to guys in a crowded outfield where people are going to want to get Kerry Carpenter, Riley Green in their lineups. People know Wensil Perez better than they know Jahmai Jones, I think. That's an interesting piece hitting third. Riley's obvious 13.1% barrel, nearly a 50% hard hit. Just 1 home run on the season. The power will arrive. He's too good for it not to. In the meantime, 378 on base, a 122 WRC plus. You can see the quality in that 394 xWOBA. Hit 36 home runs. Big lefty bat last year. Spencer Torkelson, loved the upside for power. 7.29 in the home run model. Yet to hit one this year in 86 plate appearances. We're dealing with low-end torque again. He seems to go back and forth every year between being really good and pretty bad. But I think it'll catch eventually. No time like the present going up against a middle of the road pitcher. Maybe it makes some good contact. That's really all we're fishing for is these barrel rates and hard hit rates. Very affordably priced to do that with. Winfield Perez makes good contact as well for a part-time player. 30 plate appearances has been pretty bad so far this year, but he's better than negative 16 WRC plus. Last season, reasonable quality, 13 homers over 383 plate appearances, ended the year with a 103 WRC plus. Kerry in the 7 spot, major upside for power, 8.28 to sit second on the team in the home run model. He's only 2,800 on FanDuel. He's 41 on DraftKings, very affordable. I know he hasn't exactly been great, but his 114 WRC plus is actually one of the better marks in this lineup overall. He has hit 4 home runs to lead this lineup. He's only slashing 217, 329, 433, but he's made excellent contact that is right in line with expectations, what he's always done. Strikes out a lot, but also draws his walks. So I'll take the shot at Kerry Carpenter if I'm rostering Tigers. And then Avi Baez, Jake Rogers, mix and matchy. Rogers, you're just looking for that one sneaky piece of premium contact. So far this year hasn't really found it, though he does have a 12.5% barrel. Pretty weak slash, no home run yet, 4 WRC plus. So what did I say I wanted? Casey Mize, Tigers bats, Chad Patrick, Brewers bats, I think is the correct order to jibe with what I was saying about this game earlier. I'm tempted to go Tigers over Mize. Bats over him, but I think him over them is correct. And there is separation in my mind between Mize and Patrick, despite them projecting out almost the same. $17th in the $5 single entry for Sean K. Love it. 4-stack of White Sox and the Padres. Your Pods let you down. That could have been something. Larry saying Gary Sanchez looks good in the model. No way. Larry knows how things work around here. So we took a quick peek at this one already. But again, major power showing on both sides of this game. It's more obvious on the Braves side to me. Zach Littell, just mostly a target right now. 9.8% barrels, 49% hard hit. Most importantly, I think 93.2 miles an hour of exit velocity on average in his 15 innings this season. Last year, that was a 90.2 mark, which was over our threshold. It probably comes down and settles, in the high 90, 91 kind of range. I don't think it stays over 93. I don't think he's a major league pitcher if it does. 7.58% home runs allowed in the tiny sample so far this year. But again, last year in a much more fair sample, full season, 32 starts, 186 and 2/3, 4.74% home run rate. That is egregiously high. So a lot of concern there. A lot of power reflected for the Braves. Ronnie Acuna pulling a 16.49 despite his slow start. We just keep going back to the well. He is 3,000 on FanDuel. I can't stress enough how stupid that is. Take advantage. He's been popular, justifiably so. You just keep going back to that well. He will break out. He is an absolute superstar, literally one of the best players in the league if you're not familiar. Drake Baldwin, 4,000 on FanDuel, 1,000 more expensive than Acuna. Sure, it's not crazy to price Drake Baldwin there, but it's crazy to price them both that way. 6 home runs on the board for Baldwin and 111 chances. Won the NL Rookie of the Year after a tremendous year last year. Only 49 where you do need catchers. Take advantage. 16.3% barrel. 45% hard hit from the left side against this pitcher. Fire away. Love the upside. Matty Olson was damn near the home run pick of the day. 13.40. Absolutely love him to get one. I think he was the highest Fangraphs game-by-game sim odds across the entire slate for one. Don't quote me on that because there were a few high spots, but he was one of the main ones. Love him in our model, 13.40. Slightly outpaced, surprisingly, by Austin Riley. Riley's been a little bit underwhelming in terms of barrels, hard hits this year. They're down hard from last year and the year before, which were both down seasons. But he does seem like he's maybe putting it together, or at least starting to put it back together. 3 home runs on the board, and they've all come in the last few days. 2 stolen bases, 231, 320, 374, 98 WRC plus. You can see a 331 xWOBA lurking under the substandard 318 actual. So hopefully we're on our way with Riley. Any given slate upside for sure. Against this pitcher, major upside for sure. I know what you're thinking. Terry probably made Ozzie Albies the home run pick of the day. He said it wasn't one of those top 4 guys, and he likes Ozzie Albies. Well, you're wrong. I didn't. 290, 333, 441 start for Ozzy. You love to see it. I think he's a good option to fill second base. If you're going to this team, I think he's a good option to fill second base. If you're not going to this team, you just need a one-off at a cheapo type position. Ozzy's got tons of upside. What I am concerned about with him is the ongoing 346 WOBA, but 286 expected. 2.5% barrels, 28.8% hard hits this year, down hard from just 4.9, 30.7 the year before. He's not a guy who, had tremendous premium contact numbers to begin with, and he was able to find home runs, in the vein of, who the hell am I thinking of? Jose Ramirez, who has always had, just mediocre barrel and hard hit numbers, but obviously hits 35 home runs a year. Always wasn't to that level, but he was able to defy his premium contact a little bit and get the ball over the wall. He's off to a good start. I am concerned about the premium contact and most especially that xWOBA, but entirely playable with a 117 WRC+. Big good this year. Mauricio Dubon, Mike Yastrzemski, and Jonah Heim going down the board. Mix and match pieces. Dubon off to a great start with that 135 WRC+, pair of home runs. He costs the same price as Ronald Acuna. He's hitting 7th. He does fill 4 positions on FanDuel, so he's got that going for him. This is a career-long utility man versus one of the best players in the league. They should not be the same price. Mix and match guy there. Yaz does have a little bit of pop in the bat, 46.9% hard hit rate, despite barrels being down by about half so far this season. Hasn't translated to anything, but there is playable upside for a cheap price on Mike Yastrzemski. And then the guy I skipped over is our home run pick of the day. If you know how I do things, you could have guessed that once I skipped him. 8.93. Come on down, Michael Harris II. Love the upside. 4 home runs on the board for him in amid a hot start. 286, 329, 468, 354 WOBA with a 415 expected based on pretty much on his premium contact numbers, one would imagine. 14.5% barrel, 56.5% hard hit to start the season. Looking a whole lot like Michael Harris that we know and love, and really getting his act together after a couple of years kind of lost in the weeds. He went 2020 last year, right? Yeah, 2020 exactly last year. We've got upside beyond that. At worst, I think we've got upside toward that with momentum for home runs, stolen bases, and actually getting on base, hitting for average a little bit, feeds the machine. Love the upside. He's 3,000 on DraftKings. He's 29. He's cheaper than Ronald Acuna. Stupid. I don't understand how you arrive at that. Michael Harris is undeniably a better hitter, better player than Mauricio Dubon. They're both off to good starts. Why would you have Harris cheaper than Dubon? Whatever. Nationals. Again, I am interested in Theodore Fuentes. So let's start with him. As mentioned, came up last year at age 19 and was overwhelmed. The stuff was good. He was throwing the ball well. 109 as measured by Stuff Plus, but you can see the premium contact that he ran into, kind of a problem. You can see the 13.85 ERA in 4 starts, 13 innings, just a 17% strikeout rate, even though he was missing bats a little bit, 10.2% swinging strike rate, upper 5s in terms of the ERA Sierra. 2.23 whip is absurd. Mostly we're worried about all that contact that he gave up, though. The stuff is elite. The kid sits 96, can hit 100, nasty breaking ball. 26.7% strikeouts in 4 innings of relief work earlier in the season. They sent him down to the farm to get stretched out. Down in the minors, Dieter made 3 starts, 3 2/3 in the first one, faced 14 hitters, struck out 7. Second start, he faced Milwaukee's AAA affiliate, went 6. 2 hit them, no runs. Didn't give up any runs on 1 hit in that first game. So 6 innings is kind of paramount there. Faced 23 hitters, struck out 8. Dipped a little bit against St. Louis's affiliate in the third start. 7 innings, though. Faced 26 hitters. You're just getting the work in, trying to get the arm stretched out because they knew they needed him to come back up to the show. So I think it was just all about the innings there, and who cares about the runs. He struck out 5 in that game. He has hit a batter in each of his games down on the farm. That's kind of interesting. Look out for your hit batsman prop. So again, based on the stuff, based on the price, at 61 on FanDuel, at 68 on DraftKings, I'm very, very interested. Elite strikeout potential. He's going up against the Nationals lineup that does not have fantastic targets as far as strikeouts go, though. Why is that not coming up? I don't know why these aren't coming up. I'll figure that out later. Not something we have to worry about now. Overall, this team striking out at 18.6% so far this year. This confirmed lineup. Last year, 20.1% for this same collection of guys. And you can see a lot of guys, high teens, low 20s. Their biggest strikeout target is unfortunately the massive power hitters leading off. All-world James Wood, 20.53 in the home run model, doubling the magic number. Massive, massive upside. He's getting called out all around the industry for this home run spot, though. So I didn't want to make him the home run pick of the day. I figure he's going to be really, really popular. I think that some of the hype is probably going to get some people riding the Nationals against Dieter, which is another reason to, maybe kind of like Dieter. But Wood's tremendous, 61-42, not unfair. 8 home runs on the board, 4 steals, getting on base at a 390 clip, 442 expected weighted on base. Major source of premium contact. This is Judgian kind of premium contact so far. It was elite last year, 16.3% barrels, 56.3% hard hits. Dude knows what he's doing up there. Luis Garcia Jr., I do not like all that much at first base only at 3,200. I like him a lot better as a second baseman for 27 on FanDuel. Fits in just better. You can see the home run mark, though, based on being left-handed. A little bit of premium contact upside from years past. It's dipped somewhat this year, but he's a good bat-on-ball option. He's a guy who can put the ball in play, succeed via multiple avenues, and that's always something good to have in a DFS lineup. If he doesn't go out there and hit that home run, he's a guy who's very likely to hit 2 singles, score a run, maybe steals a bag. He's got 2 stolen bases on the year, just an 80 WRC plus, but he's been a lot better than that in years past. Brady House, mix and matchy, has made some good contact to start this year. Also striking out at a 30% clip. Their other main source of strikeouts for Dieter Fuentes to focus on. Pair of home runs in 93 plate appearances, but an 82 WRC plus. Concerning 307 xWOBA and a 305 xWOBA, I'll note for Luis Garcia Jr. under the 291, 293 that those players carry. So those two guys, especially if they're going to hit at the top of the batting order, need to get their acting gear. What was that, buddy? Joker's here. CJ Abrams definitely been in a high gear to start his season. 6 home runs, 5 steals, a 420 on base percentage. He's on theme for this week. 170 WRC plus. Monster opportunity for him. 10.96 in the home run model. Undeniable from the left side. Those 2 lefties are what I'm afraid of in this lineup for Dieter. If he gets through those guys, Jacob Young, Jordi Vivas, Jose Tena, Gibber Ruiz, no problem. Maybe we're not striking guys out like crazy, but those are light hitting options. Yeah, we've got a 131 WRC plus over 56 plate appearances on Jordi Vivas. He's not that guy. Dead at league average on Jose Tena. Gibber Ruiz, we know, can put bat on ball and doesn't really strike out that much, but never really succeeds for the frequency with which he connects with the ball. It's all light, mediocre contact. So give me some cheap Dieter. But I do think it's a very, very good idea if you're rostering Dieter, maybe on even a 1-to-1 ratio, get some Nats into some other lineups as a hedge position because that power is showing and it's very, very real. And who knows? He might have a head full of spiders starting at the major league level that screws him up again today. Kid is still just 20. He was 19 last year. That makes him 20 this year. So we are still well ahead of schedule. But that also means the good AAA numbers were also ahead of schedule. Major talent here. Braves bats, cheap Dieter Fuentes, Braves bats, either order. Nationals bats right there, though, and wouldn't play Zach Littell. I don't see any reason to go there. Colin Sutherland's at the live. He's joined us live at the live speed, Cliff. What's up, buddy? Yeah, Larry. That's probably the biggest we've seen James Wood at in his brief career, but that is entirely real. I would have maybe leaned on it a little bit if it wasn't. There are things I could do to bring that number down artificially in the back end, especially for a short sample, right? Because Dieter's 5 home runs allowed in 4 starts and a handful of innings last year does have a slight impact on how that number works. So I could have adjusted that to artificially bring down the Wood home run number, but his contact, everything about it is real. This is who he is. I think he's not going to have those, insanely high barrel and hard hit rates that he does right now, but looking like last year's numbers, that wasn't a blip. Last year's numbers were entirely real for James Wood. Yankees lineup's probably in. Let me see. Taking a trip up to Fenway on another cool night. low 40s in Fenway Park, having an impact on the run numbers. 3.57 over there facing Max Fried. That kind of makes sense anyway. But just a 4.01 for the Yankees facing Ranger Suarez. A little bit light. Yankees just facing a multitude of lefties lately. Let's see what they did with the lineup today. Yeah, I had a feeling it wasn't going to be a Med Rosario in the leadoff spot. Paul Goldschmidt in the leadoff spot makes a lot more sense, and that's Boone's more common construction. Labs had it the other way around. Rosario is in the lineup, though, hitting 5th. Grichuk hitting 6th is a playable piece for very cheap. We do get Jazz. We don't get Ben Rice because Aaron Boone's an idiot. Under no circumstances, unless he needs a day off, unless he's hurt, should Ben Rice sit against any lefty, let alone a mediocre lefty like Ranger Suarez. In the 24 plate appearances he's been allowed to take this year against left-handed pitching, he's got 3 of his 8 home runs, slashing 300, 417, 750 in that tiny sample with a 450 ISO and a 220 WRC plus. Obviously, that's a very short sample. For the career, 188 plate appearances against same-handed pitching, 11 home runs, slashing 202, 289, 454, but does have a 252 ISO. 319 weighted on base is slightly below, 100th of a point below average, but a 105 WRC plus puts him above average for run creation in same-handed matchups. And that's while hitting 202 with a 289 on base. We know that's going to improve because Ben Rice is just getting better and better. It's insane to not have one of the best bats on the team in the lineup on a regular basis. Yes, we want to go to Paul Goldschmidt and get his righty bat in there. I get it. I understand why Boone thinks this way, but he's just wrong when it comes to Ben Rice. It's not the guy you platoon. Goldie, though, cheap, 36-28. Home run on the board. He's slashing 153, 2,400 over his handful of plate appearances. 25 of them. 109 WRC plus, though. Solid 433 X12 under that 331 actual. He's made some good contact. I think maybe we focus on just a couple good batted ball events over there. Lines up somewhat with who he used to be a couple years ago. Last year did take a dip. We're coming back down the other side of the mountain with Goldie, but still an effective bat when he's priced this way. Inoffensive at first base. You can absolutely use him there. Hits ahead of Aaron Judge. That's another major piece of upside. He just gets the first base. That's really all he needs to do. Judge can bring him around and we pad the scoring that way. Great piece of correlation there. 66-42. He helps bring Judge's price down to 3,500 on FanDuel. Helps bring Judge's price down to 51 on DraftKings if you average the two, but then you're paying 51 obviously for Goldie. Cody Bellinger, 45. Giancarlo Stanton at 46. I would say those are both cheap prices that help that game as well, though. If you wanted to do that. And then, honestly, Ahmed Rosario would be really appealing there and probably the most straight line path. There are a lot of people who grab, pop him at second base, short position, et cetera, et cetera. I would maybe skip over him and grab the Randall Grichuk share there. Oh, no, you can't. Sorry. My bad. I already had 3 outfielders. Never mind. Would have been an interesting way to do it. All right, so what if we said, give me 1, 2, skip Cody Bellinger. Cody Bellinger is excellent lefty-lefty. There's no concern there. I'm just skipping him here for the exercise. And grab these 3 in a row because I do want Stanton's bat in there. And then you get Rosario for the platoon upside for a cheap price and Randall Grichuk, a righty bat, platoon upside for an extreme cheap price. He's made a couple good pieces of contact in his 26 plate appearances. It's resulted in absolutely nothing so far, but it's nice to see that he's made some good contact. This is a guy who's hit 30 home runs in the show in the past. He's hit multiple seasons of 20 plus home runs. It's a good righty bat with some appreciable power in it going up against Ranger Suarez. So that averages down. Now we're at 4,080 a piece. So 4,100 a piece for a stack that still includes Paul Goldschmidt, Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, and then a scorching hot Ahmed Rosario and Randall Grichuk. It's a good 5-man. Save some money. Again, Belly is tremendous though. Lefty. To start his season, 3 home runs, 3 steals, 385 on base, a 140 WRC plus, doing Cody Bellinger things. Doesn't wreck baseballs, but should come away with, approaching mid-20s home runs. I think he had 28 last year? 29 last year. It's close. Giancarlo blasts baseballs into the stratosphere when he connects. Put one on Lansdowne Street last night. I like his chances to do it again. If anybody's going to do it today against Ranger, who again does limit home runs pretty effectively, keeps the ball down somewhat, it's going to be Judge at that 12.56. Next most likely guy is going to be Stanton at that 8.62. Destroyer of worlds. Ahmed Rosario, Randall Grichuk, we just referred to a little bit. 250, 302, 500 start for Rosario. 3 home runs on the board. A 387 xWOBA is very intriguing. A 121 WRC plus. Maybe finally finding his way a little bit, at least in this platoon role the Yanks have stuck him in. He's multi-position. He's very affordable. Makes things work in that lineup. Grichuk, as mentioned, plenty of premium contact, upside, and power. Jazz, we are not on our way to 50 home runs right now. 87 plate appearances in. He's yet to homer. A little bit concerning there. 182, 276, 247. Hopefully Jazz warms up as the weather gets warmer, but on a cold night in Boston, you don't love it. Guy who notably does not play well in the cold for whatever reason. 8 stolen bases on the season is keeping him, keeping the heartbeat alive a little bit for fantasy, but that's about it we've gotten from Jazz so far. Lefty, not ideal. He's gotten very, very cheap for a guy who does what he does on a regular basis. Jose Caballero and Austin Wells more mix and matchy down the bottom. Wells, you're just turning for that one good piece of contact for a little home run upside, but lefty doesn't help him against this pitcher. And then Caballero, you're just hoping he gets on base, a little correlated scoring, little bonus from steals. At 8,000, 9,000, I think Rangers playable-ish over here, but it's kind of like I said about the Dodgers with whoever that is. Why do you want to target the Yankees, even on a day where they're coming in at a 4-run total? Rangers not a big strikeout pitcher, so you don't really get a lot of upside for him to zip through this lineup and find 10 Ks. It just doesn't have the appeal that a lot of other more fairly priced spots do. And at 9,000, they're just bananas on FanDuel. 5.02 ERA, does have a 4.22 SIERA that's notably a run lower, 3.74 xFIP's even better, 18% strikeouts and 9.1% barrel, all these hard hits, 3.33% home runs so far, substandard stuff. Last year, though, you could see the home run limiting in action the last couple of seasons, right? Sub 3% each of the last 3 years running in large samples, 22, 27, and 26 starts. Did strike out 23%, a little above league average last year against a solid 5.8% walk rate. Was effective all through last season. 3.20 ERA, 3.61 xFIP, 3.73 SIERA. I called him mediocre. It's probably unfair. He's a little bit better than that. But he's not a premium pitcher, and it's just a bad spot. Even with the cold helping him out, pitcher-friendly kind of a night, I'm much more intrigued by the lefty on the mound for the Yankees, one of the best lefties in the league. 2.97 ERA from Max so far. 4.13 xFIP, 4.20 SIERA under the surface. He's got to clean that up. He's got to find his strikeout stuff again. But he's very good limiter of barrels, excellent in inducing weak and medium contact, keeping the ball down. He's just tremendous. Great ability to take the home run ball away from these Red Sox. Only Wilyer Abreu, of all people, lefty here, above the magic number, 5.10, barely, or above halfway to it, rather. No Roman Anthony in the lineup for the Red Sox today. With the lefty on the mound, you get Ceddanne Rafaela in the leadoff spot. Wilson Contreras does give you a little bit of right-handed pop. He's got 4 home runs on the season. Rafael is good for counting stats. Right now, he's getting on base at a 373 clip. He tends to live and die with that. Last year, fell to 295 by the end of the season. That's what drives his WRC plus down every year, as we constantly highlight, because he's good in the counting stat department year after year, right? That's fantasy production galore. And a lot of that is from the 9 spot. But a 274 on base. Last year, 295 on base, just kills his weighted run creation. If you're looking for a different leadoff hitter than Roman Anthony and you're using this year's numbers, then sure, he's the obvious guy. And we talked about this like 2 weeks ago. But that's not who Ceddanne Rafaela really is. Fantasy purposes for today, if you're determined to go to Red Sox in a bad spot, sure, grab him, put him in. He's cheap. He fills multiple positions on FanDuel. Outfield, just another outfielder really on DraftKings. Willer's got tons and tons of power, but typically platoons out of the lineup against left-handed pitching. He's gotten a few more opportunities against lefties so far this year, though. And in 24 plate appearances against left-handed pitching this year, holding his own. He's yet to homer, but the numbers aren't bad. 273, 333, 364. Just a 318 weighted on base versus the 367 that he has against right-handed pitching, and just a 95 WRC plus versus the 128 that he has against righties. For his career, against same-handed pitching. He's only made 169 plate appearances. That's including these 20 some odd this year. 2 home runs out of the 42 that he's hit total, and slashing just 214, 280, 325, just a 110 ISO, an ugly 270 weighted on base, and a 67 WRC plus. Not an ideal spot to be Willie Abreu on a cold night where we don't expect a lot of offense. Trevor Story, I picked him as the home run pick from the Red Sox, but 3.82 kind of speaks for itself going up against Max. You do get the righty bat. He does still have power in that bat. 2 home runs, but sub Mendoza right now, just a 225 on base. That's not going to help you score runs. The Red Sox just need to get the entire run creation engine turned over here. Too many sub 300 on base percentages to be sustainable. Andrew Monasterio, mix and matchy. Jarren Duran right now anyway, mix and matchy. And I'll say dramatically overpriced at 48 on DraftKings. Same price as Ronald Acuna. Now make sense of this for me. We know that Ronald Acuna is light years better than Jarren Duran when it comes to just playing baseball, their careers. Jarren Duran has had some good years. He's perfectly fine. I'm not trying to take away anything from him. Last year, 16 homers, 24 steals, 256, 332, 442, 326 xWOBA, 111 WRC plus. He's a nice player. 21-34 the year before. More effective season. Had a 207 ISO, 129 WRC plus that year, hit 285. It's a good player. It's not Ronald Acuna. Duran's start to this season is worse than Acuna's. 162, 240, 250, a 37 WRC plus, 1 home run and 3 steals. And they cost the same price on FanDuel. Make sense of that for me. I don't get it. 48 on DraftKings. Yeah, 56. There's an appreciable difference there. I do not know what your algorithm is doing, FanDuel, but it is broken when it comes to pricing. Take advantage. Just keep going back to those Acuna type spots. And Duran's price at that 3,000 is kind of cheap for who he's been in the past. 48 is fair for what he is right now. Caleb Durbin, no. Connor Wong, no. IKF, no, in terms of actual upside with the bat. Wong as a cheap catcher on DraftKings, sure, fire away if you're determined to go to the Red Sox in a bad spot. He's 2,300, so he makes sense. Every now and then breaks off a decent piece of contact, has a stolen base on the year and a 146 WRC plus. Durbin just not fulfilling his promise from that Kyle Harrison trade at all. This is who Caleb Durbin actually is. Maybe he improves on 155, 250, 225 when it's all said and done. But a light-hitting, contact-oriented guy. They made a big mistake there. You love to see it. And then IKF has never been a good bet. Max, Yankees, Suarez, Red Sox. Let's go Yankees. Sean Carp's got a 4-4 Braves pod stack. That sounds pretty damn good. I haven't looked at any builds yet, but hopefully with it's almost 5 o'clock already. We'll be out of here by 6. Don't have to worry about just 2 NBA games today. It's a nice light day. And I don't have to frantically catch up after the show. But we do need to keep on moving. Clay Holmes, again, on the mound for the Mets, looking solid. Clay's had a decent start to his year. He's inducing an 11.2% swinging strike rate, but only coming away with 17.2% punch-outs. Needs to tie those numbers together a little bit better. But I like to see the improvement in swinging strikes. Small sample. Last year it was at 9.1 over 165 and 2/3. His 31 starts. He struck out 18.2%. If we can keep that and make that bounce this above 20 in the long term, that becomes a much more interesting pitcher because Clay is good at keeping the ball down. 4.4 degree average launch last year, sub 2% home run rate, rated out positive by Stuff Plus, 4 points over league average. That has disappeared a little bit in this year's 4 starts, but he's pitched to a 1.96 ERA. Yeah, there's a 4.10 xFIP, 4.29 Sierra under the surface. It's about who he was last year. I figure he probably settles back into the 3.5 ERA type range by the end of the season. But there's plenty of playability. At 88 on FanDuel, he works. At 89 on DraftKings, he works. I do like the Mets' chances to finally snap that win streak today. I'll say it. 4.17 implied total versus the 3.41 on the other side, going up against a rookie lefty making his debut. 7,300, not that interested in Connor Prelip on FanDuel, but we talked about it in the run-up. 4,000, that's a absolute lever on DraftKings. I don't want to say must play because people misunderstand that, and I think most of you guys, sharp as you are, get what we're talking about with the value of that 4,000. Again, he doesn't actually have to be good for that price. He really only has to go out there and complete 4 innings for you. Presumably, if he's done that, he hasn't completely imploded in terms of runs, probably found a couple of Ks, got some points via outs. You'd like the full 5. You'd like the win, obviously. But he's 4,000. He's at a cheap hitter price today. And he's making a full start. In the minors, AAA this season, 4 outings, 3 starts, 15 2/3, pitching to a 2.30 ERA with a 2.92 xFIP. This is as a 25-year-old at the AAA level, so aligned correctly age-wise. 34.9% strikeout rate, but does have an issue with walks, 12.7% walk rate. So you got to watch out for that. Could get burnt by that. A lot of patient hitters in the Mets lineup, particularly while they get Juan Soto back. So this stretch through here with some patience could definitely have an impact on the upside for Prilip. But he's pitched well last year. Upper 20s strikeout rates in the minors. Looking for sample size. He missed time, so I'm trying to put together sample size. 19 starts at the AA level as a 24-year-old in last season. 61 2/3. So wasn't making like full-blown starts if you do the math on that. Pitched to a 3.65 ERA, 3.25 xFIP. So basically missed a full year in there between the beginning of 24 and when he came back in 2025. And then again, wasn't making full-blown starts, just working his way back up. But we like the upside based on that price. Not necessarily anything else. Mets not the easiest strikeout target in the world, but there are Ks here. 22.7% for this collection of hitters so far this year, 21% last year, 22.5% so far this year against left-handed pitching. So maybe a little meat on the bone for an actually effective start for Prilip, and we know that the Mets have been struggling a little bit. We did get a bomb out of our guy Frankie Lindor yesterday, and adding Juan Soto back to this lineup should work wonders for their ability to create runs, their ability to drive them in. 14.77. He's the only guy above the magic number in the home run model. On the other side, you peak at 6.07 in the leadoff spot with Byron Buxton. That makes a lot of sense that he'd be the guy. But that reflects Clay Holmes' ability to keep the ball down, limit home run power. So even Buxton just barely halfway to the magic number. He's got 4 on the season in an otherwise slow start, right around league average for WRC+. Does have a nice 14.8% barrel. Striking out a little bit similarly to seasons past. Walk rate right about where it typically is. So we don't necessarily have gains to be made there. Just needs to find good fortune when he puts the ball in play, find the home run stroke a little bit. I think Byron Buxton will be fine. And as I keep highlighting, that's your most important number with Buxton, is just being out there. 95 plate appearances so far. Knock on wood, he gets another full season in. Trevor Larnach, 3,200, fairly cheap for a guy who's rolling with a 451 on base over 51 plate appearances. Drawing a ton of walks, not really striking out. 10% barrel, 40% hard hit. He bounces up and down between like 7.5 to 10% barrels. The 45% hard hit is more accurate, though, from the last couple of seasons. So you can see him drive the ball a little bit more effectively than he has so far. 391 weighted on base with a 412 underneath it. Kind of interesting. 148 WRC+. Josh Bell's driven the ball effectively this season. Not a bad start. 3 home runs on the board. Matching 350 WOBA and ex-WOBA. 9.7% barrels. Not a bad start. Limit strikeout. Still draws his walks. Not an uninteresting player. Hitting third in this lineup if you're going to the Twins. I just don't love drawing down against Clay Holmes. Even if you think that they score 4 or 5 runs against him today and the Mets lose, it's not totally likely that he gets blown up, gives up 2 major scoring events, like two big home runs for DFS scoring. It's more likely he just gets dinked and dunked a little bit and runs happen to come across. Those will score fantasy points, but not as many as we'd actually be looking for in stacking the Twins. Caratini, always playable switch hitter with a little bit of pop for a cheap catcher. He's on the board on DraftKings a little bit more than on FanDuel. Cody Clemens, first base only, sucks on DK. It's not where you want him. Second base, outfield on FanDuel is where you want to put him. 2,700, had a good year last year for premium contact, 12% barrel, 48.3% hard hit. So far this year, the barrels have gone up, but the hard hits have been inconsistent. A lot of strikeout, a lot of walk in his game. 271 on base to start the season, though, is not great. You can see the quality in the 334 xWOBA under that 280 actual, though. Hit 19 home runs in just 386 chances last year. Probably never going to hit for average, be overly reliable, but definitely can drive the ball. Luke Keeschel for 43 for 28, fairly priced, off to a slow start, but was effective in a partial season last year. Matt Wallner at 32, 27 is very cheap for all the home run power that he brings to bear. 10% barrel, 47.5% hard hit. Sub Mendoza 282 on base to start the season, but does have those 3 home runs in his pocket at least. We're just fishing for premium contact upside. One good bat at ball event with Wallner most of the time. Royce Lewis and Brooks Lee mix and matchy down toward the bottom. Lewis off to a very good start in terms of the premium contact numbers. Hasn't really translated into anything other than the 2 home runs, 200, 347, 400. He's getting on base a little bit, actually. 116 WRC plus is appealing. A lot of that fed by that 16.3% walk rate. That's up from 6.2 last year, 8.6 the year before, 8.4 the year before that. That would represent a major gain for him. That's where you're on base. Your WRC plus are coming from, a little bit of your weighted on base. But if he can continue doing this, and if he can find 10% walks, does become more interesting. 35 is a little bit much, though, on FanDuel. 32 on DraftKings. Cheaper in just raw form and much, much cheaper in the relative cap sense. Lee is a hit tool-oriented player who has lost his hit tool right now. 3 home runs, kind of an outlier for him. On the Mets side, speaking of hit tool players who have lost their hit tool, 219, 255, 281 start to the season for Bo Bichette. We know that he's better than that. Mix and matchy is fair to say in a lot of sense with Bo Bichette, because he doesn't go out there and create a ton of major scoring events for DFS, but he's a very good piece of correlated scoring at worst. 311, 357, 483 last year. He did hit 18 home runs, drove in 94, scored 78 times. None of that's predictive. Good numbers in terms of the WOBA, the ex-WOBA, 134 WRC plus. So again, not to cast him in a bad light by saying that he doesn't create runs. He certainly does, but he's not the guy who always is driving those. He's not the guy who hits the home run. He's the guy who scores from second on it, to put it a different way. Juan Soto coming back at full price, totally justified. 355, 412, 516 when he left off. 1 home run on the board, major upside for power on base. One of the best hitters in the entire planet. I'm willing to say that is one of the best hitters in our galaxy. Maybe this sector of the known universe. Lubob, 4,900, 2,900, differently priced across sites. Got out to a good start, down at 243, but still holding strong with that 349 on base. That'll do a lot for him. 336 ex-WOBA, under a 326 actual. We need to push those up a little bit, support the underlying upside. Missing barrels right now. I think that's a big part of the issue as far as the uglier numbers. Still at a 107 WRC plus, major playability, and awfully cheap at 29 on FanDuel against a pitcher who has never pitched in the show before and uses his left hand. Monster upside for home run for Lubob here. Lindor's Lindor. The hamate bone didn't bother him yesterday, fortunately. 2 home runs on the season, 2 stolen bases. Needs to get things going, and hopefully the breath of fresh air getting Soto and a little bit of the load lifted off of his shoulders will help Lindor. Hitting cleanup behind those other guys who get on base is very interesting for him. Frankie Alvarez, if you look at the FanGraph sim, his 9.19 is second on the board for the Mets in our home run model, and he actually is the most probable per the FanGraphs sim game-by-game sims for a home run. Major source of power, monster upside for premium contact, 16.3% barrels, needs to push the hard hits, find more success for the contact. Last year, 12.1% barrel, 54% hard hit, major opportunity for power. 4 home runs from a still affordable catcher, 3,800 where you need the position, 28 where you don't. Considering that their primary first base option out of this version of the lineup would be Mark Vientos, who we do like, I have no issue just using Frankie Alvarez as if he's the first baseman on this team. You can use or skip Vientos at third base and still leave the util spot open in that equation. But you're probably ending things at Alvarez, and you're probably going just straight line 1, 2, 3, 4 right there is pretty damn good. I think those are my 4 favorite opportunities from this lineup. But if I'm building more than one, Bichette's in the second one, and Vientos is probably in it as well. Pair of home runs on the board in an otherwise bumpy start for Mark Vientos. 4.4% barrel is not who he is. 11.5, 14.3, 10.7 the last 3 years running. Dude knows how to make much better contact than he has. So very cheap. Lots of upside against a rookie lefty. Marcus Semien kind of dead in the water, mix and matchy at best. Tommy Pham, an outfielder who's found success from the right side over time. He's 2,300 on DraftKings, and he's dead min priced on FanDuel. That's not uninteresting if I'm building with Mets. I kind of like him a little bit better than Tyrone Taylor down there, who is in there for the same reason. He's a right-handed outfielder. He's awfully cheap for our purposes. Hasn't found much success in 32 plate appearances this year. Had a rough go of it in 341 chances last year. Kind of defied expectations there. We expected him to hit a little bit more pop when he was in there for platoon reasons. So don't love that spot. Last year, Pham had a dip. He only hit 10 home runs in 449 chances, had a 94 WRC plus. Year before, 9 home runs, 7 steals. Remember, we're also coming back down the other side of the mountain with Tommy Pham. So just a little bit more appeal maybe for actual reliability for hard hits and a barrel. But either guy, you're just, again, fishing for a cheap batted ball event. Mets bats. Tempting fate. Mets bats. Actually, no, excuse me. Connor Prelip on DraftKings at 4,000. That's just a piece of value. Mets bats. Clay Holmes. Twins bats. Connor Prelip on FanDuel. That's the difference. He goes from the top of the board to the bottom of the board when we switch sides. That's the difference. That's the power of that price. And this is a very cheap FanDuel price, but it's not cheap enough. Phil's in the Cubs. Phil's lineup's in. Cubs is not. Can you tell that I'm kind of luxuriating in this slate, making up for yesterday's rapid fire pace? This was just a really interesting one, the way it landed with some of these pitchers available. Like I as messy as last night's got, tonight could be even messier depending on which of these guys we end up using. Kyle Schwarber, top of your Phillies lineup, monster power hitter, 14.88 in your home run model today. He's already got 8 on the season, a 153 WRC plus. Looking a lot like Kyle Schwarber doing Kyle Schwarber things to me. He and Bryce went deep yesterday. We had Schwarb's above the double the magic number in the home run model yesterday. We had picked Adolis Garcia as the home run pick of the day. He didn't go deep, but he comes back today with an 8.30 and plenty of home run upside from the right side against another lefty. Matthew Boyd, though, at 77 on DraftKings is effective. 96 on FanDuel. I'm not really a buyer against the team that I don't really love to target with middle-of-the-board pitchers. Boyd last year, 179 and 2/3 in 31 starts. Struck out a league average 21.4%, walk 5.8. These are effective numbers, but they're not standout in any way. 3.21 ERA, but a 4.22 xFIP. Again, we're hovering right around league average with most of this stuff. Below average with most of this stuff. Right before I say below average stuff. That's just brilliant. Anyway, he has below average stuff that yielded league average type numbers across all this different stuff. So far to start the season, his 2 starts, he struck out 45.9% of hitters. I think that's a bit of a blip. Was missing bats at a 21.1% swinging strike rate. If he can maintain anything like that, he's the best pitcher in baseball. I don't expect it to happen, but he's usable at 7,700. The Phils come in with a 20.7% strikeout rate, matching-ish number last year, matching kind of number in the split. They're not a great strikeout target, and there are several very fearsome hitters and then a lot of capable righties in this lineup. So I don't love this target for Matthew Boyd. The wind is blowing in at Wrigley today, and it is a cold day, 45-degree night, 8-mile-an-hour wind. Not a dramatic wind, but definitely something to watch with Wrigley. 4.52 implied total on the Cubby side. The Phil's pulling just a 3.57. Does do a lot of the talking here. Taijuan Walker, follower today. They are opening with Kyle Backus. I only pulled Taijuan's numbers. They're the relevant ones here. Backus not going to give you more than an inning, not relevant at his $4,000 price. 14 and 2/3 over 3 starts. Taijuan has been god-awful to start the year. 7.36 ERA, elevated xFIP in Sierra, a 1.91 whip. Obviously, it's very small sample, but he's not striking anybody out. He's walking 10% of hitters in the tiny sample. He's giving up some long balls, despite really, honestly, not that much premium contact. So a couple just tragic mistakes there. Ultimately, it amounts to the hell? I touched the side of the monitor and what is going on? Oh, I put the coffee mug down and the handle of the coffee mug was on the space bar. I couldn't figure out what the hell was going on because at the same time I had touched the monitor with my hand and it's not a touchscreen, but it started to scroll. My mind was momentarily blown there. Let me get back to Taiwan here. It scrolled away from him. So that the home run number there amounts to 2 home runs against the Braves in his last game over 4 innings. He gave up 7 earned runs on 7 hits, struck out 4 and walked 3. A home run over 5 innings. Only 2 earned runs, though, 4 hits. That's not a terrible start. 6 strikeouts and 2 walks against Arizona. He was okay that day. Give up 4 earned runs on 7 hits to Colorado, but that's at Coors Field. That was over 5 innings. Notably in that game, 3 of those home runs. So I don't totally take them away because they happened at Coors, but you could, as we're talking about it, forgive them. The numbers don't forgive that, but we could maybe forgive it as we talk about it. So this is obviously a blip high, but he's just not a good pitcher. 3.95 home run rate last year on 90 stuff plus. 15.8% strikeout rate, over 122 and 2/3, 4.11 ERA with a 4.71 xFIP. So, reverse of this year's situation. This is almost a 5-run pitcher. That's why the Cubbies are pulling decent marks. Only one guy above the magic number, and it's Michael Busch from the left side in this projected version of the lineup. Let's see if it dropped in the last couple of minutes. It did not. Busch, major upside for power, even though he's yet to homer this season, even though he's missing his barrels, missing his hard hits that we saw in the big breakout last year. That is who Michael Busch is at least expected to be. And he hit 34 homers last year. He was very real throughout last year. So we're not writing him off because of bad 93 plate appearances. Same with his buddy down the bottom of the lineup here, Mr. Pete Crow Armstrong, over 97 plate appearances and all of the second half of last year. It's been pretty ugly. DraftKings holding strong at 5,300 for PCA. FanDuel's got him down at 2,800. The model's supporting more the DraftKings side of the argument, 7.36 in the home run model, but he needs to find it again, and he needs to find it again. Defense will keep you in the lineup, but only for so long. Major source of talent, but it's been ugly for PCA. Those 2 players need to get things in gear for this team to succeed. Nico, on the other hand, in the top spot, has been on fire to start the year. 4 home runs, 7 stolen bases, 326, 402, 533, a 163 WRC plus, feeding the run creation machine. But before we do the Cubs, let me jump back up on the Phillies. Talked about Schwarbs. Trey Turner at 48, 3,000. This is another star. He's, Ronnie Acuna, a couple ticks down. Trey Turner, shortstop, outfielder, so on and so forth. But FanDuel's just pricing all the slow starting stars at 3,000. Yeah, he's at 234, 294, 340, 78 WRC plus, 2 homers, 3 steals, whatever. Last year, 15 homers, 36 stolen bases. Creator runs 25% better than average. 304, 355, 457. Had a 352 weighted on base. The 321 xWOBA is predictive and does, explain away some of this year. But this year's actual is 290. So there's 30 points of difference between this year's actual and last year's league average expected. Even if he was just doing that, he would look a lot better. And FanDuel would probably have him priced at like 34. Bryce Harper's only 49 on DraftKings. That's a little low. 33 on FanDuel is a little low as well. 9.99 in the home run model. Not nothing. I don't sweat lefty with Schwarber or Harper, especially against the lefty like Boyd. 5 home runs on the board for Harper in 96 plate appearances. The rate of home runs is coming back up a little bit. 396 WOBA, 423X, 149 WRC plus. Fantastic for premium contact, not striking out, drawing his walks. It's Bryce Harper. Felix Reyes remains at the min price on DraftKings, 24 on FanDuel. He's got a home run on the board in 7 plate appearances. We looked at him, I believe, yesterday. He's got a little playability. 16 home runs, 13 steals, and 421 minor league plate appearances as a 24-year-old over 101 games last year. Last year. This year so far in AAA, 6 home runs on the board in just 84 plate appearances over the 18 games he played down there. He's 25 now. Age-wise, this is the time to land in the show if you're going to stick. Probably doesn't stick given the Phillies, overall talent on this roster. But for our purposes, in the heart of the lineup at the min price, 2,400 on FanDuel, fire away. Kid's obviously got at least a little talent. Hits righty, too. Adolis Garcia, 3,000, 2,700, 8.30 on the home run model. Major source of power. Double-digit barrels, 49.1% hard hits. Is jibes with what he's done in years past. He's diminished over the last couple of years. He's off to a pretty bad start. Pair of home runs, but 210, 301, 333 needs to improve. He's better than this, and I still do like that for a season-long bounce back, playing every day in this Phillies lineup. Alec Boehm's another player, one of the biggest misses we've had so far this season. 128, 205, 179. I don't know what's going on with Alec Boehm. Yet to barrel a ball this year. He's not striking out. It's not like he's flailing up there, but he's just not finding success. 263 xWOBA under the 186 actual. There's nothing even to cling to there. Well, there's one culprit. 138 batting average on balls in play. That's not going to help you. He needs to barrel a ball. Get it past people. His bat speed's down by almost a mile an hour. The fast and more, I think, than that. The fast swing rate is way down. It's actually improved the attack angle pretty significantly. Maybe he's selling out for that and it's impacting his ability to actually succeed. He's improved his squared up numbers, improved the ideal attack angle. I think he's tinkering too much. It's exactly what I wanted him to do. Improve that angle and try and get back to the 20 home run level, as we talked about at the beginning of the year and referencing Vinny Pasquantino from last year. But trying to do so might be messing with him a little bit too much. We did see Pasquantino struggle through April and the beginning of May last year and then end up having a phenomenal season last season. So it's not impossible that Alec Bohm does find it and what he's trying to tinker with does end up clicking and he becomes what I was hoping for. But it's a growing concern. Edmundo Sosa, playable. Justin Crawford, playable. Both cheap. Rafael Marchand, only 2,400 where you need catchers. Dead min on FanDuel. If I'm building on FanDuel and I need a cheap price, I'm mostly looking at Felix Reyes in his spot in the lineup or any of those other guys in green. Marchand, probably my last man in on FanDuel, despite being the dead min. Just not a 9-hitting catcher who's not a reliable source of on base. Doesn't do much for us here. It does help you build on DraftKings. Crawford, not a great start. 283, 377, 400 is very good. 122 WRC plus, but just a 300 xWOBA under that 356 actual. So I shouldn't have said not a great start. The numbers on the surface are all right. The 377 on base is obviously terrific. The average is fine. But he hasn't driven the ball all that effectively. 2.1% barrel, 36.2% hard hit. Has created some runs, but there's a lot to keep your eye on with that young hitter. Going back to the Cubby side. Again, Nico, tremendous. We talked about Michael Busch, so let's land on Alex Bregman here. He's only 4,200, 2,800 at a shallow third base. 46.8% hard hit is something that's right in line with career numbers, something you can hang your hat on for going to him here. 15% barrel rate, 11.2% hard hit, and you get to throw him at Taijuan Walker. What's not to like? 2 home runs on the season, and an otherwise fairly slow start, just a 94 WRC plus. But focus on the contact, focus on the batted ball events, the ability to fill third base with a known commodity who is quite good, 8.41 in the home run model. Definitely like the upside for Bregman, and he puts the ball in play or reaches first base most of the time. He's not a free swing and strikeout guy. Ian Happ striking out quite a bit this year. Those numbers were a lot lower last year. Always draws his walks. He's exchanged the strikeouts for a little bit of power upside. 17% barrel, 47% hard hit. We'll see where that goes. 6 home runs on the year to lead the team. Happ's always been very, very good in terms of getting to first base. He's always had 20 home run power. If he pushes this year, he becomes more interesting. Very playable with these prices for DFS purposes. So is Seiya Suzuki, who's gotten awfully cheap. 1 home run in his 48 plate appearances, but not a bad start. 396 on base, a 126 WRC plus. Last year, 32 home runs, drove in 103 if you care about RBIs. Moises Ballesteros, some good contact in limited outings so far this year. 51 plate appearances. He's hit 3 home runs, 13.9% barrel, 58.3% hard hits. Remains affordable at 37. You get him and Carson Kelly in this projected version of the lineup. We'll see what they actually do. 28-29 on FanDuel, 37-33. You can play the price game a little bit. Kelly's also got some good batted ball events. They're almost the same as far as those go. And Kelly gave us more, over the last couple of years. Ballesteros, just a rookie last season with a cup of coffee, 66 plate appearances, hit 2 home runs, made some good contact. Carson Kelly played the full season, 421 opportunities, hit 17 long balls. Is not nothing for a cheap catcher. PCA we talked about, and then our guy Dansby buried down the bottom of the lineup. Dansby's hit 5 home runs and tried to ignore everything else except for the on-base percentage and the WOBA, xWOBA, and the WRC plus, actually. It's really just ignore the 187. That'll kill you. Does anybody get that? Is that still a thing people say? 187? It was a Sam Jackson movie once upon a time. You like the Cubs or the D-backs more as a value stack for FanDuel, says Meech. Cubs. Yeah, Diamondback. The model's having a hard time with the Diamondbacks with that lineup. I was referencing it earlier. This is a very underwhelming bottom half of the lineup. I like the first 4 hitters. And if we're talking about the first 4, then you could argue for the Diamondbacks at least to be competitive with the Cubs. But the actual value guys through the back end are not that appealing. Jose Fernandez has found a little bit of success in a small sample, but he's not that guy. I don't think it lasts. And you can see that in the xWOBA. 286. He's already below league average in the WRC Plus department now. Nolan Arenado has been dead for the better part of 18 months and not coming back. McCann, Tim Tawa, Jorge Barrosa. Your obvious guys from the Diamondbacks are who they are. But I think the spot, despite the 4.99 total against Anthony Kay here, which is appealing, potentially 4.52, maybe a little better because you're just buying better quality of player. With that in mind, Cubs bats, Phillies bats, Matthew Boyd wouldn't play Taiwan. Even the 58 for Taiwan, it just doesn't work. I don't think you see success. It's a dart. I mean, it's not quite the 4,000, doesn't actually have to pitch well level. It's a value dart, but it's not a good one. It's blunt. One of the flights is broken off. It's going to go like this when you throw it. Pirates, 408 implied total. Rangers, just a 4. Braxton Ashcraft, who's pitched pretty well to start his season, 29.7% strikeout over 4 starts. 2.38 ERA with a 3.0 xFIP, 3.0 Sierra, not really defying it. Not bad. Limiting premium contact, missing barrels, yet to give up a home run. 13.8% swinging strike rate. Nice step forward so far for Braxton Ashcraft. Last year made 8 starts, through 69 and 2/3, 24.3% strikeout. Solid numbers, around 3.5 xFIP Sierra. Not bad last year either for home runs, premium contact. So definitely some upside here against a up and down Ranger squad with a low end total. You can see the impact he has on their home run numbers. Not even Corey Seager halfway to the magic number, 3.24 in the home run model today. So take away a lot of upside from the Rangers, and definitely interested in Braxton Ashcraft. 82 works, 98, a little painful on FanDuel. FanDuel's pricing is all over the place. I guess if you're paying 3 for Ronnie Acuna, you could pay 9.8 for Braxton Ashcraft. Jack Leiter's also not been bad. 4.87 ERA, but a run lower in the xFIP, the Sierra, the actual numbers. 104 marked by Stuff Plus. His missing bats, 14.1% swinging strike rate, 26.7% strikeouts overall. It's a young pitcher with a ton of pedigree, showing signs of growth. Phenomenal stuff. Look at all the above average pitches across the full arsenal. Just needs to put all those pieces together, and we've got something on our hands. Against the Pirates, with plenty of strikeout available, 25.3% so far this year, 24.2% overall last year for this same collection of guys. Leiter could find it again here. I don't dislike him, but I would lean toward maybe some Pirates bats against, especially if he ends up getting a little bit popular. 88, not exactly cheap. 86, maybe he picks up a few more shares on FanDuel. 5 2/3 last time out. He gave up 3 earned runs on 7 hits, struck out 3, walked 3, struck out 4, walked 4 the start before that, while giving up 5 earned runs over just 3 2/3 against the Dodgers, though. So maybe forgive him that one a little bit. First two starts of the year were where the numbers come from. Cincinnati and Baltimore, struck out 9 Reds, struck out 8 Orioles. Major upside for that kind of a game against a Pirates team that aligns more with the Reds and the Orioles than they do with the Dodgers. If you go to the Pirates, O'Neal Cruz, our guy in the top spot, 6 homers, 10 steals, monster, 144 WRC plus. Dude's just awesome. He's fully priced, but it's easy enough to reach with some of the offsets further down the lineup there, and you get some okay quality. Brandon Lau was not in the lineup yesterday. We hope to have him today. 9.64 in your home run model. Definite upside for a home run. He's hit 7 so far in his Pirates career, 9.64 right behind O'Neal Cruz as far as a home run pick from this team. I think I went with Lau. I used Cruz yesterday. Brian Reynolds is also on that list. He's gotten his contact kind of in gear. 256, 386, 402. He's getting on base again this year, creating runs. Just a better situation, I think, for Reynolds. Rising tide effect should help a star get back to his usual production. Ryan O'Hearn, always a good bat. Lefty against a mediocre, or not mediocre, but a growing righty. Plenty of reason to consider Ryan O'Hearn. But you got to note that the Pirates are kind of expensive, especially on FanDuel. That's a 4-man, 37.50 average. That's one of the more expensive overall teams. They slot in 8th on FanDuel, but as you can see, 12th by value on our stacks board, 8th and 10th at a little bit of a price break on DraftKings, but they're expensive up top over here too. So it basically mandates that you're getting Spencer Horwitz in there, that you're getting Joey Bart in there in your full 5-man on DK. And then you got to make a Sophie's choice between your top 4 guys that you actually want to get to. So I'm taking 1, 2, 3, 4 on DraftKings, and then I'm making a choice between Brian Reynolds and Ryan O'Hearn. In the exercise to get the value down and taking the guy who is probably truly the more talented of the two, I think you go to Reynolds there. And your average is 43.20, which is kind of high. I don't love that. Horwitz, we talked about yesterday, ended up scratching from the lineup. If you get him today, he's very affordable. He is actually a talented guy. Should keep strikeouts below 20% while walking at a double-digit pace. Should find some barrels along the way. Never going to be massive for a hard hit rate, but can get the ball over the wall, can hit for average and get on base, create runs. He is an effective player, and last year's numbers were pretty much aligned to who he actually is. Connor Griffin, slow start for the kid, but the top prospect in baseball. You can definitely fire that shot as well. 31 at short also works in that equation of bringing pricing down. It's just these other guys were cheaper at key positions. And then Joey Bart, you're just looking for one good piece of contact. For the Rangers, I lean much more toward the Braxton Ashcraft side, especially with the ability to check the home run power. Again, nobody even halfway to the magic number, well below it. And it's a scuffling kind of a team overall. They're up, they're down. I'm not a big fan. Brendan Nimmo's off to a good start, though. He's getting on base a lot. You get a lefty bat from the leadoff role against a righty with some on-base skill that's returned to form. 143 WRC plus against a 368 on base. He's hit 4 home runs to start his season. He's kind of back engaged in being Brandon Nimmo. Langford mix and match. I believe he came out of the game yesterday, if memory serves, so just keep an eye on that. Corey Seager is Corey Seager, but has not been mostly this year. 5 home runs, but 203, 323, 430 is problematic. 329 weighted on base, right around the average, but a 346 expected, much better, and last year's numbers were just monstrous under the surface. Makes major contact. 15.8% barrel, 45.6% hard hit, right in line with who he's been in years past. The numbers will be there at the end of the day for Corey Seager. Jake Berger's making good contact to start his year. He's at 5 home runs, kind of looking like Jake Berger out there. You're never going to get great on base out of Berger. 3.1% walk this year, 3.2 last year, 5.4 the year before. But if you can limit strikeout at all toward where he was the last 2 seasons, that will improve. And if the power is back, you got something. Jock Peterson's been mostly shot since joining the Rangers. 1 home run on the board this year. Yet to barrel a ball is really concerning. That's kind of the name of Jock Peterson's game against right-handed pitching. But you get a shot at a cheap price. Multiple first baseman is not great on DraftKings. Outfield is where Peterson belongs on FanDuel. Josh Young, Evan Carter, Josh Smith, all mix and matchy. And then our sneaky cheap catcher down the bottom of the lineup, 2,900 for Higgy, doing his thing. 10% barrels, 50% hard hits in the small sample, 34 plate appearances. Already got one of probably 10 to 12 home runs that he hits this year. Had that one blip where he hit 17 2 years ago, but then returned with 12, I think, last year. 11 last year. Typically, you're going to get 10 or 11. He's always cheap, though, and he actually truly does make decent contact in the I got one good barrel out of him kind of a sense. Braxton Ashcraft, Pirates bats, Jack Leiter, Rangers bats. All very close. Definitely a 4 corners kind of a game. Not a 4 corners game. I want no part of either of these pitchers. I know that Walker Buehler's been improved. Once upon a time, he was a very good pitcher. Over 17 2/3 in 4 starts. He's bringing a 24.7% strikeout rate into Coors with him. 4.58 ERA, but a 3.25 xFIP, 3.53 Sierra. Hasn't given up major contact so far this season. Keeping home runs down. Stuff isn't really there. Last season, it was messier. 16% strikeout against 10.8% walk. That's over 24 starts. Not a full season, but a fair sample. 4.93 ERA, 5.09 xFIP, 5.19 Sierra. Year before, maybe caught in between, but that's where the diminishment really started. He missed 23, came back in 24, just not the same guy over those 16 starts, and has never really reclaimed it. If 3 years out from that missed year, we're suddenly giving him credit at age 31 for being the guy he was now at age 26 back in 2021. You could do it, but I think you'd be overreacting to a hot start. And he's pitching in Coors Field tonight. Yes, we saw a 1-0 game there last night, but as mentioned, that was a 0.0014% outcome at Coors Field, the 12th ever game that finished 1-0 at Coors Field. 5.52 implied total says a lot about that for the Rockies. Tomo Sugano, just don't play. He's just not. I know he's got a 2.16 ERA, 409 xFIP is the true number, 19% strikeouts, just allows contact and allows premium contact. Pitching in Coors Field against a good Padres team, pulling a 6.62 implied. It's just not the right decision to make, even if you want to be, for the wildest contrarian reasons, for the $6,100 price. You've got a guy in a better spot at $4,000. Not worth going to. He's not Chase Dollander. We said Dollander was going to be good yesterday. We said that you can use him yesterday. That is not this guy. Padres lineup. Ramon Laureano up top, assuming that is what they confirm. Let's see if we got it. Nope, we do have the Rockies. Laureano, good start to his year, following up a good year last year. I was doubting that he would continue it. He's always been a quality player. I shouldn't put the Rockies lineup in the Padres spot, though. He's always been a quality player, and we've seen decent mid-teens type home run seasons from him in the past. But last year, really took an across-the-board step forward. 24 home runs, 281, 342, 512, 138 WRC plus, supported by both the WOBA and the ex-WOBA. So, I mean, everything about that year was very real. Took barrels way up, hard hits way up, and he sustained that. So if you were using him last year, I think you can, with at least a modicum of confidence, use him in the same way this year. Fernando Tatis Jr., star caliber player. No home runs yet this year is a little odd. They were talking about him on Central or one of the shows this morning, and I haven't looked at the pull rates, but apparently he's just hitting everything oppo right now. So the 14.1% barrel and 67.2% home run, just or hard hit rather. 67.2% home run would be pretty great. Those aren't going anywhere for him. Just needs to start pulling the ball. And we should see that translate into, expected power. Jackson Merrill's got pop in the bat, 53-38, full price, but it's Coors Field. 3 home runs, 4 stolen bases in an otherwise slow start to the season. 83 WRC plus. A few games in Coors ought to help with that, but last night obviously didn't. Manny Machado at 51, kind of affordable. 36 on FanDuel, relative a little bit higher. 11.08 in the home run model. One of 2 guys above the magic number, but plenty of guys hovering around it. Manny's Manny. I have no qualms about the 178, 326, 288 start, the 83 WRC plus. He'll be back. Too good to just drop off the face of the earth that quickly. Xander Bogaerts, Gavin Sheets, Miguel Andujar, Freddie Fermin, and Jake Cronenworth. Every single one of those guys is definitely playable under normal neutral field circumstances, and at Coors Field, a little bit more so. So you can get quality out of Bogey. Bogey can put good bat on ball, can still steal you a base, hits the occasional home run, positive run creator, 113 WRC plus right now. Gavin Sheets, good lefty stick, 9.6% barrel, 50% hard hit, similar to last year's numbers. Had a good year last year, has a pair of home runs, but an otherwise bumpy start to his season. Does have a 102 WRC, 102 WRC plus, despite the up and down nature of his slash line. Miguel Andujar's hit for average and continuing to do so. 308, 345, 423, getting on base, creating runs. Last year, over 341 plate appearances, 318, 352, 470. And the unexpected part of that was the 10 home runs. He found a little bit of his power. He had last hit home runs regularly going back to 2018 with the Yankees. Had a 20 home run season, I want to say. 27 home run season in 2018 with the Yankees. After that, he peaked at 6 home runs. He also peaked at only 162 plate appearances in that same season. So this is just a guy who has finally gotten his opportunity back at age 30 and had a good year for it last year, getting more regular opportunities this year. He's in the mix for playability. Fits into the outfield. I think you probably pop him there on both sites. You don't worry about occupying an infield spot, but it probably also depends on what you're putting the pods together with. So if you want to use, all the big time Yankees outfielders, or if you want to use the multiple outfielders from whatever team that was we were looking at before, when I said, oh no, I already have 3 outfielders, you could use Andujar at third base. And again, that's a short position. I don't like him quite as much at first, but you got options. Furman should hit for a little bit better than a 194 average. At least he's gotten on a few times. You're just looking for the hit tool to come through for you. Low strikeout, put the ball in play type of a bat. When you can fill catcher with that guy, it's not a bad option. 3,100, maybe a little bit high priced. And that's a low price, I know, but maybe a little high relative to his start. But definitely reflects the quality from seasons past. Jake Cronenworth not getting on base like he normally does, but that is a good wraparound option. And now he's gotten cheap and you can pop him at second base. So kind of works at Coors Field. 36 for Jake Cronenworth at Coors Field, 28 at Coors Field. Even hitting 9th is a pretty good price. 11 home runs last year, but we focus on the 367 on base, the 117 WRC plus. When he's hitting down here, that brings him right back around to those guys most of the times through the lineup. So got to remember that. Helps you bring that price down to, if you wanted to go just through the top, 35.25. And again, Coors Field is not unreasonable. If you like 5-man that, 49.60. So you can get them below 5 on average for the full 5-man with the top 4 hitters. If you were to say mix in, like take the catcher, go 8-9. I'd probably go 8-9, 2-3-4 if I was going to do that. And apologies to Mr. Laureano. 45 again. So doable. Hi, Joker. Joker's here to endorse the Padres. Edward Lillian from the top of the Rockies lineup. Not an uninteresting bat. Getting on at a 348 clip. Does have a little ability to drive the ball, too. 9.8% barrel and 46.3% hard hit. Have only translated to 1 home run. He just has an 88 WRC plus, a league average weighted on base number, but a 368 xWOBA lurking under the surface. Again, based mostly on the ability to get to first base and the way that he drives the ball. That's going to float your xWOBA up. So he is a reasonable option that could give us a kind of surprising season. And that would disappoint me because, like I said the other day, I traded him in the Dynasty League because he wasn't getting his plate appearances. As soon as I traded him, he's been leading off basically every day. Mickey Moniak at 39 on DraftKings is cheap. 4,000 on FanDuel is correct. 9.41 in your home run model. I don't know why Mickey's so cheap on DraftKings. Actually, all the Rockies are pretty cheap on DraftKings for a Coors Field day. They're stack number 2 by points on the board. FanDuel value is 3. DraftKings tied with the Padres for stack 1 and stack 1 by value where the Pods are 15. They're not priced correctly. For a team with a 5.52 implied total, they're not priced correctly. Moniak's got plenty of very real power from the left side against a mediocre righty. Hunter Goodman's got very real power. He's a righty, but who cares? 5 home runs on the board for him, 6 on the board for Moniak. 137 WRC plus, 103 WRC plus. Obviously some concern right there in the xWOBAs. Neither of those guys is reliable to get on base, reliable to draw a walk, but both guys can blast baseballs when they make contact. Tyler Freeman, adequate. 4,100 in the outfield, works. 3,000, probably like him better at second base. 294, 385, 294, just paid to get on base, move the engine along. TJ Rumfield, Troy Johnston, lefty bats with a little bit of thump in them as well. Guys who could drive the ball over the fence. 3 home runs for Rumfield. 2 for Johnston so far. Kyle Karros, Willie Castro, Jake McCarthy, more mix and matchy toward the bottom. I still am a fan of Willie Castro. 231, 286, 338. Not where we wanted him to start his Rockies career. But there's quality there, and there's the ability to move him around the field at a diminishing price in Coors Field. That has value just because you want to get to Coors, and if you're putting him together with something crazy team-wise, given the pitcher value and the Coors value, the Rockies value, you want that guy that you can move around to say, all right, if I'm building this, if I'm doing that, if I could only put a guy in, second base or in the outfield instead, then I can unlock this guy from the Dodgers, from the Yankees, so on and so forth. Or you get a big pitcher upgrade. He buys you a lot, and that is a player who's shown quality in years past. Just a 92 WRC plus last year, but did come away with some counting stats, 11 home runs, 10 steals, and 454. The year before that, 108 WRC plus. A dozen home runs, 14 steals, and 635. Again, not a star, but a guy who's been a positive run creator in the show. That's all you really need at Coors. And then Jake McCarthy, just another outfielder, but again, another guy, quite cheap at Coors Field. A little bit of lefty quality there, I guess, to hunt for. Quality is the wrong word. Value? Lefty value. Padres bats, Rockies bats. Walker Buehler, if you need a pitcher from Coors, but it's not going to happen again. They're not going back-to-back 1-0 games. White Sox at a 4.11. The Diamondbacks, as mentioned, 4.99 implied total. One of the best marks on the board. They're going up against a gettable starter in Anthony Kay. Kay's brought decent stuff to the mound this year. Hasn't really translated for him. 2 starts, 17 and a third, 15% strikeout, 11.5% walk, 2.60 ERA, but a 5.37 xFIP, 5.10 Sierra. Those are the real numbers. Fire away with the top of the Diamondbacks lineup. Against a pitcher like this, you could find success with an experienced veteran righty hitter like Nolan Arenado. Maybe he doesn't need the bat speed to actually be there to catch up with Anthony Kay, but it's pretty flimsy down the bottom, given the dead Arenado, given the overperformance of Jose Fernandez, James McCann. It's been a minute and change since we've seen James McCann really be good. Tim Tawa, whatever else. There's not a lot of there down the bottom of the lineup. So it's really 4-man up at the top and then whoever to just round things out. And that's kind of the way that I think most people end up building this team. Maybe it's a 3-man. I mean, like, could we talk ourselves into, going back to the value question? Like a Lourdes Gurriel, Arenado, McCann? And you just hope that Gurriel's on base when you get one good batted ball event out of those two guys? Really, really flimsy. But maybe that's the way you extract value out of that near 5-run total. Because everybody and their brother who goes to this team is going to put Ketel Marte, Corbin Carroll, and Geraldo Perdomo in that lineup. Fewer people will include Lourdes Gurriel, but he'll be the next click most of the time. And then it's a lot of meh going down the lineup. These interesting White Sox. Chase Meadroth at the top of the projected lineup. Do we have this? We do have this. Chase Meadroth's at the top of the actual lineup too. Diamondbacks looks mostly like I have up there. They're confirmed as well. So Meadroth, excellent hit tool. Starting to click into place over the last 2 weeks for the season. It was a slow start, but the kid's really good at limiting strikeout, really good at putting the ball in play, and he's been driving the ball effectively. Right now, he's up to a 103 WRC plus, 323 weighted on base, 321 expected. So we're starting to come together. And I highlighted yesterday for Meadroth, the OPS. We're at 699 and climbing, but he's been at like 800 and change over the last 2 weeks. Miguel Vargas hit another home run last night, if I'm not mistaken, 4 on the season, 3 stolen bases, slashing 177, 323, 92 has got to be a little concerning. 325 kind of league average WOBA, 331 a little bit better under the covers. He's driven the ball effectively. 9.2% barrel, 41.5% hard hit, almost exactly aligned to last year's numbers. Not striking out, drawing some walks. He's not uninteresting. If I'm building White Sox, remains very affordable, fills a short position at third on DraftKings. I would go back and forth, I think, between outfield and third base, just depending on what else I'm putting in that lineup on FanDuel. But he's a usable piece as long as he continues hitting second, and especially if he's hitting ahead of Munetaka Murakami. In that case, I just want him to get to first base, honestly. I don't care about circling the bases because Murakami will help with that. 4,700 on DraftKings is too cheap. 3,600 on FanDuel, probably too cheap. In a reactionary space, he should probably be over 5,000. He should probably be more approaching 6 on DraftKings and 441 on FanDuel. He is that guy. 9 home runs on the season, 394 on base, 418 WOBA with a 416X, 167 WRC plus, a 21.2% walk rate over almost 100 plate appearances. He does not swing at garbage. He can strike out because that's, but it's a matter of beating him in the zone. He will not give away a plate appearance, let alone he won't give away a single pitch, let alone a plate appearance. That's what I was trying to say. Everson Pereira, not uninteresting. 3,100 on both sites, much cheaper relatively on DraftKings. Great barrel and hard hit rates over 46 plate appearances to start his season. 3 home runs on the board already. Off to a very strong start for a kid who was once upon a time not a top prospect, but hey, that kid should get to the majors and play for a while and be decent, kind of a level prospect coming up for the Yankees, and just got buried. But maybe making a little bit of a statement and reclaiming his spot in the show here. Hitting cleanup at 3,100 on both kind of works. Edgar Quero at 25, cheap catcher option, little bit of ability to drive the ball, slow start over 62 plate appearances, but very playable, particularly on DraftKings. FanDuel, he's 22, so you can use him, but give me Munetaka Murakami basically every time, and I'll use somebody else at Util. Colson Montgomery, I believe, went yard yesterday too. 6 on the board for the season. 357 WOBA, but a concerning 300 expected mark under it. We saw all the power last year. The barrels, the hard hits are very, very real, but you got to find the consistency a little bit more with Montgomery. Should find it, should be very good. Any given slate, major upside. Even lefty here against Erod, no issues with it. And the same applies for Murakami. Everybody else in the lineup is either a switch hitter or right-handed. So you're getting a lot of righties against Erod here. Love the upside for Murakami to go deep, 12.46 in the home run model, but don't sleep on Montgomery just because there's a lefty on the mound. Tanner Murray, Derek Hill, Luis Angel down the bottom of the lineup, mix and matchy. A little bit of diminishment, I would say, overall for the bottom of that lineup, but playable parts. Derek Hill against a righty, probably most notably, or against the lefty, rather. The righty bat against the lefty. I suppose I should address the Erod of it, 8,400, 8,900, striking out just 14.6% of hitters. That was part of what we talked about the last time out, where he's just not max efforting it. He's just kind of in the rocking chair, as they say. Just repeatable delivery, not max effort delivery, not pushing for strikeouts. So he's lost a lot of strikeout, lost some swing and miss, but he was pitching effectively. He has a 1.96 ERA, but a 4.68 xFIP, 5.03 Sierra, probably closer to the right numbers. Maybe it settles in sub 4, but right around 4 at the end of the season. Pitcher we know we can succeed with, going up against a young, developing, but interesting kind of lineup that has a lot of flaws with that 24% strikeout rate over the last 2 years. Call it a tie. I think Erod's entirely usable here at 84. I don't love it at 89 on FanDuel, but he does project in the upper middle part of the board. So if you're building 10 lineups, Erod's probably in 1 or 2 of them at least, and probably gets into more as you go along. K, I don't think we're using 7,000, 7,500. I just don't see it in the strikeouts, the walk, and the underlying run numbers. So that does, again, feed the upside at the 5 implied total for the D-backs. Marte's got 4 home runs on the board this year, just an 86 WRC plus, but a 378 XWOBA, but takes care of any concerns that we might have. Corbin Carroll's hit 3 home runs, stolen 2 bags. Got out of the gate good, despite the hamate bone injury for him with those 3 home runs, but now it's been a couple games. So we do have to watch where that power goes, because that's what the hamate does. It's a hand injury. I believe if it breaks, they just extract the bone because you don't actually need it. But what players always say about it is on your home run swing, when you torque, it like leverages where that bone was, and it creates, the way it was described is like a shock kind of a feeling, like a jolt in your hands. So it typically does sap a lot of power for a player. I think Corbin Carroll's just fine anyway, because he's going to hit for average. He's going to get on. He's going to wreak havoc on the base pass, score plenty of runs. But maybe we do see that home run number actually end up shorter than it was, like I was saying just a couple of weeks ago at the beginning of the season before those 3 home runs. Either way, though, perfectly fine and an ideal asset for DFS. Adaldo Perdomo is fairly cheap for a guy who was as good as he was last year. Home runs, 6 steals this year. Getting on at a 341 clip supports the upside. Just a 96 WRC plus. But again, last year, 20 homers, 27 steals, was on base all the time, creating runs all the time. Reasonable at those prices at shortstop. One of the upside shortstop pieces on the board for sure, coming out of a team that people will be going to. But again, everybody who builds is going to have those 3 guys as their priorities with this team. It's a shallow team despite that high total. That doesn't mean these guys can't or won't succeed. And I didn't mean to highlight Lewis in there. But that is a diminished bottom end compared to other teams that are at, a 4.5 total, that are just deeper, give you more. Even the Yanks, right? 4.01, almost a full run lower, but a full lineup of usable parts. It's a lot less so with this D-backs team. Give me, that said, Diamondbacks bats, White Sox bats, Erod, probably no Anthony K. Then we close it out here with the Dodgers and the Giants. 5:45 should get us out of here by 6. Larry was just talking about that. 5:37, 2 games to go. I think Terry will actually hit the under today. Should we say we should be out by 6? You don't think I could stretch this Dodgers-Giants game into 15 minutes? Now, this one, we take Shohei off the board, as I was kind of clunkily talking about at the beginning of the show, right? He's not going to be in their lineup for DFS purposes, but all of your totals, all of your stack rankings are taking that into account. As you can see, he's projected at 0, even in the home run model here. So this is still a pretty decent team. It is still the Dodgers. They rate 4th by points, but 10th by value. FanDuel, 4th by points, and a concerning 17th by value on DraftKings. That's, again, all calculated without Ohtani's bat there. And if he is in the lineup, he wasn't the last time he pitched, but it was because of something specific. Should be hitting in his usual spot today and pitching. He, in real life, will be feeding the run creation engine. Will be hitting his home runs, doing his thing. So you have to, it's difficult to really boil down for what we're trying to talk through as far as how do the Dodgers really truly rate today for their DFS usability. They're in a pitcher-friendly park. They're pulling a decent total against a mediocre righty who walks too many, who gives up too much premium contact, too many home runs. Limited sample this year of 4 starts, 18.2% barrel rate allowed by Mr. Molly, 6.82% home runs. He's better than that, but maybe not all that much. So definitely, even with no Ohtani, Tucker, Smith, Freddie, Teoscar, it's a lineup of all-stars. You can definitely go there, and has an impact on the value if you're taking the usual $6,000 price off. Now I can grab a four-man here of four hitters that I really like. $33.50 on FanDuel. It's entirely playable. Just taking the top five on DK. $51.60. All right, that's a little bit more. Tucker, I didn't spot Tucker's 6 because of the 10 on that. So more expensive on DK, which reflects what we saw on the stacks board. So I guess the FanDuel is where you're finding that value a little bit for the Dodgers. Andy Paez is expensive down lineup, 3,900. It's off to a great start, 366, 411, 598. Unreal. Look how it's just unfair. That's an 8-man average, 142 WRC plus. You can drop Alex Freeland into it and call it a 8-man 130 or 9-man 133. Per man, 33% above average for run creation. Ridiculous. Ohtani's Ohtani on the mound. He should buzz through this Giants team. 332 implied total. Found the strikeout the last time out. Struck out 10, I want to say, his last time on the mound. Prior to that game, we talked about how the strikeouts took a dip in his first two starts. He struck out 6 over 6 against the Guardians, 2 over 6 against the Blue Jays, but he was fantastic in both outings. Then last time he went through the Mets, struck out 10, allowed 1 earned run over 6, 2 hits. I think we're pretty locked into that 6-inning range. It's about where he's at in the back end here today. Major source of upside, top projected pitcher, could smash through those totals if he finds the strikeout again. And there's plenty of upside to support that going up against the Giants. 22% strikeout rate each of the last 3 seasons, almost exactly the same number for this collection of hitters. So we can definitely find some Ks with Joey on the mound. The Giants are at least effective up top, 1 through 4. There's some good hitters. There's some quality there. Slow starts as, be damned. We know that those guys can hit a little bit. It's not the absolute safest spot in the world, but again, the 332 total speaks volumes. If you go to the Dodgers, Tucker's an absolute priority. I don't care about 244, 333, 372 to start. I don't care that the XWOB is only at 308. I just know who Kyle Tucker is for a certainty. So this will all come around. You just keep going back there despite the consistently still high prices. And again, what are we really doing at 38, where he's 800 more than Ronald Acuna, despite a slow start? He's been a little bit better than Acuna for fantasy production, but it's just dumb. 43 is very affordable for a catcher like Will Smith on DraftKings. 28 totally works on FanDuel. Freddie Freeman, high priority, even at 58 on DraftKings. 34, very fair on the FanDuel slate. 289, 366, 506. It's just still Freddie Freeman. Has a ridiculous 460 XWOB under the 386 actual, which is a ridiculous number on its own. Muncy, major premium contact guy, always has been. Draws his walks, does strike out a ton, can give you a 0 from time to time, but typically if he's not hitting a home run, he is getting to first base once or twice during the game. 371 on base, a 169 WRC plus at a max this year. Andy Paez fire away, even though he's highly priced. Actually a little bit more affordable on DK than on FanDuel for this one. 58.3% hard hit, 5 home runs, 4 steals on the board, and just a growing player who was already good last year. Hee-Sung Kim, Alex Freeland, more mix and matchy in the infield. Then we get to the Giants. Willy Adames, absolute priority if you're taking a shot against Shohei, which is misguided, but you'll get him at low ownership and fair pricing. Willy Adames, solid on the barrel so far this season. 3 home runs, but otherwise unspectacular. 247, 293. The 452 slug is nice. The 204 ISO, the 108 WRC plus, all fine. But a 305 XWOB, but 329 actual. We gotta pull it together and find the consistency with Willy. It's never really been the nature of his game, but had a very strong second half to last season to reclaim his year, and ended up being exactly where they thought he would be when it all came together, but really needed to scramble to get there. You'd like to see a more complete full season from Willie. Luis Arias should chase a batting title again this year. 302, 333, 360. You're just looking at him to get on base, set the table for Chapman, for Devers, the power bats in this lineup. So far, not great. 1 home run, 2 home runs, 3 combined between the two. Chappie's been a little bit better in terms of the average, the ability to get to first base, the 107 WRC plus. Devers in a crater at 61 WRC plus. Maybe the Giants end up trading him and he surges with another team. We've talked about how good his season actually was last year multiple times. You definitely go to Rafi Devers if you're rostering Giants at all. And if you're rostering a one-off from the Giants, it's one of Willie Adames, Matt Chapman, and Rafi Devers, and it's probably Rafi Devers, especially on FanDuel where he's only $2,700. That's as dumb as the $3,000 price on Acuna. But at least he's facing Shohei Ohtani. Acuna's facing Zach Littell. Casey Schmidt, Drew Gilbert, Patty Bailey, and actually Casey Schmidt, Drew Gilbert, Patty Bailey, all mix and matchy, cheap guys at their positions, whatever. Schmidt not off to a bad start, over 73 plate appearances, but not a major source of quality. We do have for quality Elliot Ramos at 32-28, 2 home runs, an okay start to his year, but a 92 WRC plus. We know he's better than that, and it's reflected in his premium contact so far this year. 16% barrels, 50% hard hits. It's just not amounted to much. It should in the long term. We should see more success if he just continues to do Elliot Ramos things out there. Needs to wrangle the strikeouts back down. And then Arara Encarnacion in the bottom spot, 2,400, 2,200. If we get this version of the lineup, that's another cheap bat with a little bit of thump in it. 2 years ago in a small sample, 15% barrel, 58.8% hard hit. That was in 119 plate appearances, over which he hit 5 home runs. Just had a 94 WRC plus, but had a 177 ISO. I thought the ISO was actually a little better when I started that sentence. Last year, that kind of fell apart in just 56 plate appearances. This year so far, 25 plate appearances, jury's still out. But the guy knows how to make good contact, still had a 45% hard hit rate. The barrels just kind of escaped him in last year's 50-some-odd plate appearances. There's a little bit of talent there. You can go to that spot if you're rostering Giants, but we don't really want to be rostering Giants. So, is what it is. Ohtani, Dodgers bats, Giants bats, probably don't want to get to Tyler Mahle. I think he's in for a bad night. That's about it. We made it. Hit the under. Pay those under tickets, as long as I don't take too long on this goodbye. Stephen Leibowitz says, I'm old enough to remember when Devers was good. You're going to make me do it, aren't you? You're going to make me look. I've shown this off so many times already this year. I know you're being facetious when you say that. Got himself traded out of Boston. Finished the year at 252, 372, 479 with a 227 ISO, a 135 WRC plus, an outrageous 367 xWOBA with a 365 actual, 35 home runs and 729 plate appearances at the end of the season. That's Rafi Devers, just looking like Rafi Devers. Got to get to the end of the season, talk about who he actually was. I know you know that, though, Steven. Good way to end the show, though. Reminder that Rafi Devers is good and should never be priced at 2,700, even facing Shohei Ohtani. But Ohtani's the key piece at the top of the board. If you can afford him for pitching, you can get there. Max Fried, not a terrible alternative on a cold night in Boston. Everybody else is, there's some danger. Those are your two aces. You get quality on Ashcraft, you get quality out of Boyd every now and then from Erod. But having a board where Erod is the fifth most highly projected pitcher does kind of tell you the shape of this slate. But what you do have here is crazy values. Dieter Fuentes, very interesting for the price. Might not work out, but the price is great. He is several thousand too cheap for what he actually is on the mound. And then Connor Prelip at 4,000 on DK. You want to be firing that regularly. Again, he doesn't actually have to even be good. He just needs to get through 4 or 5 innings. It's right there for us. If I was building like my 6th lineup on DraftKings, I mean, if I'm doing it, it's probably the first lineup I build just because I want to see what happens. But by lineup 6, I would probably have a combination of those two pitchers for 10-8 total. I just think it buys you so much. Home run pick of the day was Michael Harris II from the Atlanta Braves. I didn't want to go with the guys that were glaringly obvious, but going back to that game for a sec, this is your crazy source of potential power. 4 guys on the Braves above the magic number and well above. 4 guys on the Nats above the magic number, including James Wood, double the magic number. But I went with our guy right here, hiding out in the 6th spot, Michael Harris, 8.93, not far off the mark. He's hit 4, and he's been mashing to start the season, and he remains cheap. Nice. Rabbit holes, got a lot of them. Perfect. I love when that works out. And the guy I called out is a guy that people already liked and we're going to. Mr. Guy, that's a good question. Should I play the 4K pitcher in single entry? That depends on your risk tolerance. It depends on your personal, just general approach. I do think that value translates to that format. I doubt he gets the ownership that would be even probably reflected in like a large field tournament, probably ends up lower owned in that contest than he would in a full field tournament. But it's very much about how much are you spending on that lineup, and do you care if it goes completely bust? Because your probability is still on that pitcher goes out and has a bad day, doesn't look good, comes away with minimal fantasy scoring, which means that you have to bullseye what you did with that several thousand of savings when you put that together. It just gives you so much opportunity in that typically the downside would outweigh the probability of downside, still based on the value and what you can get and the probability of upside that you can get in so many other components of your lineup with that savings should outweigh the downside. But just in a raw sense, if we just equalized all pitching, he would be one of the worst options on the slate if everybody was priced at exactly the same $8,000 price, let's say. He would not be interesting. On FanDuel, he's priced, very cheap, but several thousand more, and is just not interesting. Right? At 73, I've got alternatives that I like way, way better on FanDuel. But it just doesn't compare to the 4 on DraftKings. And like I said, he doesn't actually have to be good, but it comes down to how much does the $5, $10, $2,000 that you're entering that contest with actually matter to you? How tolerant are you of a play like that just blowing up in your face? That would, I think, be the key variable here, because the play is the play, right? The value is definitely there and is definitely real. There is also a lot of other value on the board, though, too. You could probably get to pretty similar bats. What you don't want to do, especially in that single entry format, I would say, is use that and then leave like 1,200 on the table. Don't do that, because that would buy you, the difference to Dieter Fuentes or somebody like that if you work on it a little bit. So if you do that with this $4,000 pitcher, this is a case where, as much as you don't need to spend all your salary in baseball, you want to spend most of it when you're using a value prop like that. I was just looking at that, Larry. Good luck out there tonight. Somebody go win something. Share those results when you do. We'll be back for more tomorrow, gang. This was a fun show. See ya. I got you out, Larry.